Okay. Chaz, why don't you introduce yourself to everybody that maybe isn't aware of who you are? I don't know how they wouldn't know who you are, but go ahead and introduce yourself, your little background, and tell us what you're going to share, and then get right into it.
Absolutely. My name is Charles Leslie. Most people know me as Chaz. I've been in the e-commerce space for about 9 years now, just over 9 years since 2015. Thanksgiving Day 2015 was my first sale on Amazon. Avengers Puzzle. Back then, the fees were nothing. So I sold it for $7.49, bought it for $1, and I made like $4 profit. And then I went and got a couple hundred more of them, and turns out it worked. Long story short, because we do have 9 years of experience now, in a nutshell, wife and I both quit our jobs. I was a massage therapist, personal trainer. She was in the medical field. Loved what we did. Didn't love being tied to someone else's schedule that can tell us when we can pee and when we can eat. So decided to do the not so smart thing back then because we had no savings at all. We quit our jobs and we had no plan B. So we had to figure this out. So with that, we move forward all Amazon FBA after about 6 months. Amazon returns. Back then, there was no restrictions, IP claims. It was a wild west back then, but we had a ton of customer returns piling up. Trista wanted something of her own, which is my wife, and I was very much retail arbitrage, lots of Walmart, lots of Target, Kohl's, etc. And she wanted something of her own. So that's when she discovered thrifting, the Goodwill bins. If you've never experienced the bins, you can look that up. It's where they pay per pound. They dump it all in big bins and you dig. It's very, very aggressive. So those are fun YouTube videos for you to check out. So my wife wanted to get into that world and she did. And that's where eBay kicked off for us. And I still at that point had zero desire to take photos of things one by one and list them and ship them to customers. I'm like, screw that. I can take 200 of something, throw it in a box, and Amazon deals with that. So she was doing eBay. She was taking all the customer return stuff from Amazon, listing them up, selling them. And then eventually down the road, she drugged me out to some garage sales. I never grew up as a thrifter. And I looked up a VCR. And that was the first time I saw an opportunity on eBay that I might enjoy because I love vintage stuff. I love electronics, 90s kid at heart. So I love the toys and all that kind of stuff too. And I sold this VCR for $80, bought it for $2 at that garage sale. And that was just like a little aha moment where I'm like, what? I would have to flip how many Avengers puzzles to make that $80 sale happen. And so I went all in on the vintage electronics on the weekends and we started hustling garage sales. We're at the time up in the Pacific Northwest in Oregon. So garage sale season was only really 10 weeks out of the year. Those of you up north understand how that goes. And now we're down here in Texas where they are year round. But that was the eBay birth in my brain of how this whole site started. And then fast forward, we ended up doing nothing but retail arbitrage. And then she was doing thrift stores. I was doing garage sales and thrift stores for electronics. Kind of a great spouse, husband, wife team setup because we split the inventory up that way. From there, we ended up launching our prep center up in Oregon called Network Prep, which you may or may not be familiar with. And that basically took up every single minute of our time. Uh, Andrew and Amanda are getting a taste of what that feels like to work with other people's stuff. And it is the most labor intensive business I have ever experienced. I'm sure you guys are in the thick of the grind of putting in 1, 2 a.m., getting everyone else's stuff done before you can even touch your own. For us, that became a huge problem because we had to hit pause on our own selling for about 2.5, 3 years to scale up what we wanted to do with that prep center. And from there, after 3 years of not selling, we decided, okay, personally, we were going to move down to Texas, which is where we are now. We didn't want to close up shop. So we had to take an additional year to hire a manager, basically the person who can replace us because everything lived in our head. All the employees at the time were just preppers. So we ran inventory lab, we ran everything. And it was a grind. So we eventually wrote everything out. We got systems involved. We got an operations person. She now has her own team, and they run 95% of network prep up there. We moved, and finally, we were able to launch location number 2, which was the natural progression, of course. And we found out very quickly, Oregon being sales tax free, we cannot copy and paste that blueprint here in Texas because we have 8% sales tax. So, long story short, down here, we built a second location for 2 years, wasted a ton of time, and it failed. So we've been very public for the last almost year. We shut down that Texas location, which is about 4,000 square feet. We shut that down back in July, and we decided let's do what we started in the beginning and do what aligns with our lifestyle best, which is go buy and sell and make videos about it. That's what we love. And we got away from that. So that's where we are today is I'm back in full on seller mode and I've been having so much fun with it because I had so much time off. People are like, how do you have so much fire? I'm like, go take 3 years off and then come back and tell me you're not pumped. So that leads up to where we are today, specifically with eBay in this call, because people know us as Amazon sellers this whole time. I've been battling a Section 3 since April, which huge percentage of most sellers have gone through or currently going through. So with that, I was forced, and shout out, I know Sarah's on here too. Shout out to Sarah inside of our Sellers Network group. She hosted a call back in February about selling on Walmart, which everyone has heard about and known about. And I was stubborn for what, like 2 years, Sarah? 2 years, Sarah was bugging me. She's like, you got to get on Walmart. And so finally I did. And I got suspended over a bogus sold a medical device, which is actually just an at-home facial thing. Still battling that, but having Walmart was a saving grace. So got on Walmart, hustled that, made some good money, and then leading up to Q4, I had a decision to make. Am I going to lean in, spend all this cash up front, go hustle Walmart and do the Q4 grind like I would normally do for the last 9 years? Or I have about 1,500 units inside of storage units right now in my garage of unlisted eBay items. These are bad buys I had over the years with Amazon, restricted products I had to recall back, stranded inventory, customer returns, stuff I've thrifted and bought for eBay but just never took care of. I had these two storage units packed full. So during Q4, I decided let me hit pause on spending and I've got at least 20 or 30 grand worth of inventory just sitting around. And you may or may not have that much, or you may have more. I've talked to people that have 6 figures worth of inventory sitting around their warehouse. I finally decided for the first time in 9 years, I'm not going to do Q4 in the traditional way of go spend money to make more money. I have all this paid for inventory that's just sitting around and I let it compile. I'm going to just list it on eBay and see what happens. And I'm going to be the most consistent I've ever been in my career. And I did exactly that. So we took that eBay account from a whopping $500 rolling 30-day total up to at its peak during December, we took it up to 14K. And that was just half of it was my personal thrifted items specifically for eBay, but the other half was just as my Amazon and Walmart buys. That was restricted products, customer returns, stuff I just had let pile up over the years and I would take care of eventually. Over half those sales was just from that, and I saw the power of finally being consistent with eBay and recovering what buy cost I could of my original investment. So that's why I'm very excited to dive in and showcase the ins and outs of the eBay side, specifically from the world and the view as an Amazon seller. Because I know that's kind of the bread and butter of most of your operations here is probably the Amazon or Walmart side. So I want to specifically talk about the eBay side coming from that perspective, not so much the like, what do you look for when you go in a thrift store? We're not really going to cover that here because I don't think any of you probably have a desire to go hustle thrift stores unless you're a thrifter, right? Different call, different day. So with that being said, do we have questions to begin with? And I do have a slideshow that I can run through and give you guys a whole breakdown. That was 9 years compiled down to like 5 minutes. Hopefully that worked.
That was great. I think questions for the end after your slideshow would be the smart way to go.
You got it. All right, let me flip screen around here.
If anybody does have any questions as we're going, just raise your hand or even just speak right out. It's fine.
Absolutely. All right, let me do. All right, minimize some windows here so I'm not in your way. All right, can you guys see that screen okay?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. And I have, actually, it's probably smart of me to open up the chat as well. Wherever that bar went. Oh no, my Zoom bar just disappeared. Oh, there it is. Sorry, I have two screens and it was hiding. I have to find where my Zoom bar went. There we go. All right, so I'm going to deep dive quickly the overview of eBay because if you guys want me to come back on at some point and do a logistics breakdown of how to do eBay, we can totally do that. For now, what I want to do is run through this real quick and then we will break it all down. All right, so quick start guide. Number one, overview. Just like any other platform, there's going to be ins and outs. This is a completely different animal, different beast. Hold on real quick. I'm going to shut my Discord down because I got notifications going off like crazy. All right, there we go. So the 6 main bullet points within the eBay world are going to be research, sourcing, photos, listing, shipping, and account health. I'm not going to deep dive any one of these. I'm going to cover more so what I've been doing. There's 1,000 different ways, just like with Amazon or Walmart. There's 1,000 different ways to buy and sell products. There's different business models, all within the eBay umbrella. I'm just going to showcase what has been working for me. And also from the Amazon seller's perspective, we can cover how that can benefit you as well. And I'm curious too, if you guys don't mind dropping in the chat, where are you currently at right now with eBay? Have you never sold anything? Have you sold a couple things? Do you have, here's the big one. Do you have a death pile of Amazon and Walmart stuff that you know you need to get on eBay, but you just haven't? I'm going to guess that might be the larger percentage of what most people are looking at right now. So we're going to dive a little bit more into this. Now, I gave you guys a breakdown of kind of where we've been at. Research. Now, the biggest downfall with eBay is their back end API is shut down. That means the keys to the back door, they're locked. You cannot access that as far as programs and softwares go. So we are, as Amazon and Walmart seller, well, not Walmart, but yet, but as Amazon sellers, we're used to Keepa. Keepa is the Bible of the Amazon universe. And so we can't make any buying decisions without that chart, right? eBay doesn't have that. They have something called TerraPeak, which if there is a Keepa chart, that's as close as it gets, but it's not half of what Keepa does. So what we rely on in the eBay world is going to be sold comps. This is just sold comparisons is what we're looking at. So for example, and after this is all done, that's why I'm going to do the slides very quickly so we can go on to eBay and I can poke around and show you guys whatever you're interested in. So when we search Nike Metcon 6, for example, I'm going to see right here, we have 780 active results. Now that is filtered down to black pairs as well. That's why there's not as many as there are total, but that's just a black pair, which is this colorway. 780 results. Now we don't necessarily care what the active listed price is because this one is for 120 plus 15 delivery. And then we have 75 plus 15. I care what the moving prices actually are. So a Keepa chart would show you the history of a product. We can filter down to solds on eBay, and that will show us over the last 90 days. It's going to filter down right here and show us exactly how much they sold for, and it's listing by listing. If you're completely new to the eBay side, it is a listing by listing basis. Every single person on here is their own individual listing. In the Amazon and Walmart side, you would all hop on one main listing that's already in the catalog. In eBay, it doesn't work like that. You as a seller can have multi-quantity, so you can make one listing right here and then say you have 10 units of it and just replenish that same listing. But as far as every other listing that you're going to see, these are all individual sellers that have to make their own individual listings. And I think that is the number one thing that detours people away from eBay, because I know it did for me in the beginning, is the fact you have to take your own photos and you have to create the listings. I would say from scratch, but there's a trick to copy someone else's listing so it copies most of their data. That's the key that's going to save you a lot of time. So you don't have to sit here and write out a brand new title and a brand new description every single time. There's ways to copy people's stuff. So in the eBay world, we're going to see 780 results for active listings. Those are not sold, but there's a filter to show solds, and I can see 308 have actually sold. So that's showing me there is a 50%, roughly, we'll just easy math, 50% sell-through rate. That means that at least half of the ones that are listed over a 90-day period are selling through. And this is where if you have a cheap buy cost, you can undercut the market. You can do all the tips and tricks that you normally do in the Amazon space. Sourcing. I highlight Facebook Marketplace because if you follow us on Instagram, that has been my bread and butter lately. I've been making some killer deals and there's specific tactics I've been using to do that. We're going to cover that towards the end of these slides here. That's why I put that in green. So if there's interest towards the end of this, consider it bonus material, we can keep going forward and I can showcase the whole Facebook marketplace side because it's a whole different world. But sourcing in the eBay sense are going to be thrift stores, garage sales, estate sales, retail, and online arbitrage. There's more. You could do storage unit auctions. There's more ways to source. I'm covering the stuff that I focus on that I have experience with. One thing with us in our content, I will never talk about anything I've not physically done myself as a content creator. You know, I have icks with YouTube videos the same way everyone else does, where people throw theories and talk about things that they've never physically put their hands on. You're not going to find that with us. What we do is we talk about things we've actually done and have proven to be successful with. So these are my breads and butters, if you will. Facebook Marketplace specifically is what I've been focusing on lately, and honestly making a killing on. Do we have questions so far? Feel free to use a chat, unmute yourself. This can be as interactive as you would like it to.
Chaz, I had a question. So, I don't know where to start. You know how you did the send me your zip code? Are you
Yes.
gonna do that live tonight?
If y'all want to chill and do bonus time, I'm here as long as you need me to. I got
I
no
would
kids and
love
a wife at home right now, so
I would love it if maybe somebody who's not on eBay
yep.
drop their zip code in the comments and Chaz will find you something profitable flip tonight.
But no pressure, right?
No pressure. He will. He will
I'm
though.
gonna sit here till I find profitable items. I cannot leave until we accomplish that. So you guys can see
Ooh.
firsthand.
Carlos just
Firsthand.
dropped a Miami zip code. That's gonna be difficult.
Ooh,
So many
Miami. Okay,
resellers in
okay.
Miami.
Miami is a major there's major hubs throughout the US for sellers of all platforms. Miami, Dallas, and Houston over here in Texas. I'm in the San Antonio area, which is not near, it's not half of what Dallas and Houston are. And then you got obviously LA, but there's just so many great ones. But if you guys are game, stick around for the end. Whoever wants to hang out. I mean, I've done 3 hour sessions of Facebook Marketplace live sourcing. It's pretty crazy. Over in the Sellers Network Discord that we run, we will chill for 2 or 3 hours and we just source. It's so fun.
I
Sarah
love
Sarah can confirm that. She's like, yes, he has.
I can
I
also confirm that you and I went
Brian,
to one of the TSN calls, and you got me probably about three things in a matter of what, half hour maybe. It was
yep,
pretty good.
yep.
I was amazed.
I made the mistake of throwing out that offer on Instagram last week. I got like 60 zip codes. So now when I get these little 15-minute breaks, I'm still punching those zip codes in. I have found an average of 2 items per zip code, every single zip code so far. It's been pretty crazy. So if you guys are interested in that part, stay tuned. All right, let's talk about eBay 101. Photos. Don't do these. Got it? I'm going to keep this as simple as we can. Poor lighting. The product is far away from the photo. If you look at Amazon and Walmart listings, what's the first thing that you notice about those photos? The main photo is crisp white background. The product is right up close as it can be to the camera. So these types of photos, at first glance, if you're shopping on eBay, I don't want to buy that stuff. So think about from the customer perspective when you're taking your photos. Jeff, yes, said use a light box. There are light boxes now that are, I think, $25 to $30 range on the cheap ones. They're literally just a black box with a white background inside of it, and they have built-in lights. Brian, thank you for sharing that. If you want to upgrade from the little photo box setup, you get your own white. You can use poster boards. Like our first box was Dollar Tree poster boards that we taped together. We use that for like a year. You don't need to go fancy, and you can use that light that Brian has right there. It's called a soft box light. Though you can get a set of two of those for like 30 to 40 bucks on Amazon. All of the supplies nowadays are so much cheaper than they were 5 years ago. You used to have to spend $300 or $400 to get a decent setup, and now you can do it for about 100 bucks. So very easy to set up and cheap. It just depends on the space that you have to work with. If you have one small corner in a 10 by 10 spare bedroom, you got to do a small setup. If you've got a garage, you have a little more wiggle room. If you've got a warehouse, you can make a friggin' house size photo box if you want to. But photos 101, do not do them like this. Good. Brian, yes, beautiful. Brian's got an awesome one in the chat there. So here's how we do our photos is crisp and clear up front. That product is as close as it can be. Um, and I put some prices on here so you guys can see different methods that we've done. These Luca shoes, Facebook Marketplace. I got them for $20. They sold for $120 within 2 days. These Sony camcorders, I have sold, I can't even tell you how many of these. I've been selling these since the day I started on Amazon. Amazon back in the day, I did use electronics quite often. I can't tell you how many full-size printers that I have boxed and shipped. Because you go buy them for $10 at a garage sale, and at Amazon, you were getting a premium. I was selling printers for $200 and $300 used. These camcorders, you can find them for $5, 10, $20 on Facebook Marketplace and garage sales, thrift stores. This model right here, $150, sold within 24 hours. This tennis racket. Oh, and by the way, that was at a garage sale, $5. So we got a Facebook Marketplace fine. We have a garage sale fine. This tennis racket, I picked it up at Goodwill. Vintage 1920s, maybe 1930s tennis racket, $7. It sold 2 days later for $125. Did anyone pick these up from Ross this last Q4? Or did you all sleep on that one? Cars. Here's a little bolo for you, even in the Amazon Walmart space too, but as well as eBay. This is a prime example of there were no listings when I bought this on Amazon or Walmart. So as an Amazon or Walmart seller, what would I do? I would scan it, no title, search it, no listing, I'll move on. Always check eBay. Bought this for $16.99, sold it for $100 about 2 weeks later. Kind of crazy. So, and the bolo is cars. Cars, for some reason, always has these sets that come out during Q4 and they hit the discount stores. Mostly Ross is where I find a lot of these, but you can find them in Marshall's, Burlington, not these exact models, but different ones. There was a color changing car wash version a couple years back for the OGs. If you guys remember those, $14.99 in Ross. I ended up finding probably 5 or 6 of them that year, and they were selling on Amazon for $80 the same day. It was easy money. So cars, keep an eye out for car sets every Q4. But point being, one main photo, because just like in Amazon or a Walmart listing, you'll have a main photo. I want that to be as crisp and clear and bright as possible. And then the other ones, I don't take as much care of. As you guys can see right here, the little bit darker photos, just because the way my garage lighting is set up. But from here, you can see I have a killer photo because it draws the eye in. I want the customer to click on it and go through the rest. Same thing with here. We're going to take a very up close photo because what happens is go look at other eBay listings. A lot of people are not making sure that the product fills as much of that white space as possible. You don't need a pure white background, by the way. If you go look at shoe sellers, especially, they have all kinds of crazy backgrounds. Find what works best for you. It used to be shoved down our throats that you need a white background for Google searchability, which can be true. But how many people are actually clicking through Google to get to our eBay accounts? I don't think that many. So use whatever background you have, just make sure it looks good. So that's my take on that. Again, there's more logistics involved to the step-by-step. I'm not going to cover them in this call. If you guys want more of an advanced step-by-step tutorial style, we can happily hop in here and do another session for you. Listings themselves, keywords are going to make or break the ability for customers to find your stuff. For example, this title, Nike Gym Shoes 8. That's no good. Don't do that. What type of shoe? Is it men's or women's? So men's Nike Metcon 9 lifting training shoes, cement gray, hot punch, black, size 11. Much better. Now, keep in mind when you are writing out a title, the same way with Amazon and Walmart, the fortunate part with those platforms, you don't have to worry about any of this. You don't have to know what SEO is if you sell on Amazon and Walmart. But in eBay, you have to have a little bit of skill here. So what we want to do is have the heavy hitting keywords up front because this reads left to right the same way that any algorithm does, the same way that Google does. So when you are in the mindset of a customer, if I'm going to look for a Nike Metcon 9 shoe, what am I going to type in? Nike Metcon 9. Then I might type in the color or the size. So you always want to have your heavy hitting keywords right up front. Again, more logistics involved, different call, different day, but just so you can kind of wrap your head around the basics here. Now, most people are detoured away from listing on eBay in the beginning because they don't know that you don't have to fill out all this stuff from scratch. You can hit create listing and it's all blank, and you're like, holy crap, I've got to fill all this out and write a description and write a title and all of this stuff. You can. It's very slow and meticulous, but what we do is we go to those sold items, and this says have one to sell, sell now. The same way that you can do on Walmart too, right? There's that sell similar button, and it's going to act the same way. What it's going to do is copy that person's listing, and it's going to fill out all these items specifics, is what this is called, based on what they put in. Here's where you have to pay attention, because if they put in inaccurate information, that is going to carry over. So even though you're copying all the information, it does like 80% of the work for you. You still need to go through and cross check the size, the color, the model, make sure these are all exact matches, but it's going to become a very quick and easy process. Listing should take you 1 minute, maybe a minute and a half once you get really good at this. And it depends on the type of item. Clothing is way more difficult because you have to lay it out, take measurements, there's different keywords, all this kind of stuff. But if you do electronics, that's pretty easy. It's got a brand, a model, and everything is just right there. So it depends on the category. But listing, very, very quick once you get the hang of doing this, where you sell now, copy their information, change out, maybe you have a different size, different color, swap those out. Very simple setup. Shipping. Once you have an order, it's going to work the exact same way as your seller fulfilled stuff on Walmart or your FBM stuff on Amazon. Exact same way. You're going to have the order right here. Instead, this would say get shipping label. And then from there, you're going to input your weight and dimensions, and then it gives you your different options. Ground Advantage is about 95% of what we use. We sell mostly shoes and clothing nowadays. I still definitely pick up electronics. You guys can see I recently did a Harley buyout, so I paid $5 for this. It sold for 35 plus 6 for shipping. I charge $5.99 for shipping across the board. Used to do free shipping because I thought it was better. That's what we've always been taught. Trista, my wife, like 3 months ago, not even a full 3 months, she's like, hey, we should charge for shipping. And I'm like, no, our sales will slow down. Guess what? They didn't. And now we're recovering $6 per sale that happens, which is pretty sweet. So it's going to pop up with Ground Advantage is the number one thing that most eBay sellers we like to use. I put most of my stuff in poly mailers. Shoes, clothing, unless they sell for over $100, then I'll box it. I've had zero complaints. That's how we do our business. You're going to hear a completely different answer from another eBay seller, and it's the exact same way as selling on Amazon or Walmart. Everyone does it differently. Test every little thing out. You can box the crap out of everything if you want to. We're going to find what works best for you, and then you move forward with that. We found that taking the extra time to box items, especially shoes, we did that for years, years and years, boxing shoes, and it would increase the dimensions and the weight, which means instead of paying, like for this, 552 was how much I paid for to ship this one. If I would have boxed that, that probably would have bumped it up over $6, which isn't much here. But if we're talking shoes, it gets into the 2 pound range. Then instead of paying $6 or $7 for shipping, I'm now paying $9 or $10 for shipping. Big difference. So we started polybagging, the actual item. Then we use a poly mailer to slide that into and ship out. We've had zero complaints. So we've shipped out thousands of items that way. Questions on any of that so far? I told you I'm gonna bust through this so we can get to the fun part.
Now, do you use bubble mailers or just poly mailers?
I do use bubble mailers. I have two sizes. I have a 4x6, and then I have I think it's a 9x11. So that's going to be beauty, makeup, because we do have some, like, small Clinique stuff that I got restricted in previously. I had forever. So we do have small mailers that we use for that stuff too. But even still, 90 to 95% of our stuff gets shipped out in those. All right, now we can dive into what may attain more or be more of a connective tissue for you guys here is eBay for Amazon sellers. Returns, restricted, bad buys, and stranded. Those are the 4 main things that most of you probably have sitting in your house somewhere. It's time to get rid of that stuff. Here's the thing is, if it doesn't sell, this is the way that we did it. So I told you earlier, we shut down our warehouse here. And instead of a $7,000 overhead, we now only have $600 for our storage units that we have. And they're indoors, AC, power, outlets, the whole 9 yards. It's beautiful. I bring that up to say that when we shut down the warehouse, we had almost 4,000 square feet, which means that just gave me permission to buy more crap that I didn't list. And so when we went to go downsize and get rid of all of that, I asked myself, I told myself, not even us, I told myself one thing: if it doesn't sell for at least $30, I don't care if I can sell it today. If it doesn't sell for $30, it's getting donated. I donated hundreds of items, and it was the most mentally freeing thing I think I've ever done in our business. It was pretty great. But what happened was I was left with my best stuff. So now when I listed my best stuff, the sales went boom. And that's how I turned $500 into 14K within 30 days. And over half of that was non-eBay specific inventory. It was the Amazon and Walmart leftover stuff. So from there is where you guys come into play, because if you have those death piles too, it's time to do something about it. Clear physical and mental space. This is the number one thing that's going to happen once you start listing this stuff. It's going to feel so friggin' good. Shout out to Sarah, because she's recently been doing the same thing, where she's been listing her stuff on eBay too. And she'll confirm, like, this is the most mentally freeing thing you can do, is to finally get rid of the pile you're staring at every time. And it might be hidden in your garage, which may not stress you out that much, but subconsciously it's there. You start getting rid of that stuff, man, it feels so good. You're going to recover your cash and you're going to reinvest in a better product. That's another cool part. I'm going to show you the numbers breakdown here on one of these next slides too. The how, like, okay, this sounds good, but how do I do it? Non-negotiable, Monday through Friday, you pick out 5 items out of that pile, you photo them, and you list them. Non-negotiable. Once you get the logistics of eBay down, this should not take you more than 10 minutes, maybe 15. It becomes very quick. So it just becomes a part of your daily routine that you do. Go pick out 5 items, get them listed, right? And we'll just take the photos, get it listed. Once you have that death pile cleaned up, now we need to implement a process, a system, so it doesn't happen again. So what you do is, the day that you get those, there's 2 ways you can do this. Some people like to do it the day that gets delivered to you. By the end of the day, you might have 2 or 3 items that got delivered. Photo and list them right away, and then it's just done. You immediately break down the boxes, sort those away, get rid of them, whatever. But then it's just not taking up any space. Or also, some people like to do 1 or 2 days a week. They tackle the whole pile, and they'll go do 30 or 40 at a time. It can work both ways, but either way, I highly recommend you implement some system in place so that this doesn't happen again. So that, number one, over everything, your cash is tied up. Some of you have thousands of dollars sitting around that you could have turned over so many times right now, but it hasn't happened because you just keep procrastinating. And I can preach on this because I did it for years. I had a whole warehouse full of this crap that we had to get rid of. Next one, stay consistent. That's the biggest one out of any of this. None of these platforms work unless you are consistent. If you are doing Amazon FBA or Walmart WFS, if you're not doing weekly shipments, your sales are doing this, right? We all know what it feels like to be like on our grind, and we're doing shipments, and we're feeling good, and those sales are going up, and you miss like 2 weeks, and all of a sudden it's like, crap, how am I going to pay my bills this week? Not a fun feeling. eBay, even more so than Amazon and Walmart, is very driven by the activity and the time you spend in that account. eBay will literally punish you by not putting your items out in front of people if you're not listing consistently. So you got to stay consistent. That's why I say, even if you have 100 items that you need to get on eBay, do not do them all at once. The algorithm is going to favor doing 3 or 5 a day consistently for weeks, versus if you just go ham and you do it all in one day. Does that make sense? You always want to do smaller, consistent listing versus doing a big upload on Monday and then nothing for 2 weeks and then another big upload. You want to space that out as much as you can. I usually just recommend, if you go count out your inventory, if you have 100 items and you want to do 5 per day, Great. You've got 10 business days worth of inventory you can go and work through now. So you want to make sure 20. Wow, I can't even do math right now. You want to make sure that you're spacing those listings out. The algorithm is going to love you. It's going to treat you and reward you by giving you more sales because it's putting those items out in front of more eyeballs. The second you stop, it's literally going to stop showing your items as much, because one of the biggest complaints with eBay is I listed all my items, but they're not selling. There's a couple reasons that can be at play here. Number one is you've got to have a great photo. Number two is you have to have a great title packed with those keywords so that it's searchable. You can actually find the items. And then three, you want to make sure you are very competitive on your pricing. It's the same way as Amazon or Walmart, right? It's all about pricing at the end of the day. Customers on eBay can filter different ways. So what they typically do is they're going to filter down what's the lowest buy it now price available for this item. So if you are priced $5 higher, you may be on page 2. So you want to stay very competitively priced. I undercut the crap out of my competition if I can. I don't care how they feel about it. Call it penny pinching or, price tanking, whatever you want to call it. But I got inventory to move. And as long as I'm profitable, I'm going to move it however I need to because I've got a business to run. Right? Questions? You guys ready for the next one? Getting some value out of this so far?
I get a question. You know how you said don't do everything at once? What if you did do everything at once but scheduled it out? Would that be
Yes,
considered consistent for eBay
absolutely.
algorithm?
Absolutely. Thank you for clarifying that because I completely jumped over that. So within eBay, you can create a listing that doesn't go live, and that's called saving it as a draft. And so what you can do is bulk upload as much as you want, and then you can literally just select 5 per day and hit publish, and then they push out live. Or you can pre-schedule them. That gets into some logistics about there's a 25-cent fee if you do that, if you don't have a store subscription, which starts at $20 a month. There's all the logistics involved. So if you want to schedule them where you don't have to click anything, you can do that. Or if you just want to create a whole list of stuff saved to your drafts, then you can select a certain amount per day and just hit publish. It takes two seconds. It's very easy. So I'm very happy you brought that up because that is absolutely how you can do it as well. We're actually now, I've been doing 30 or 40 listings every single day, non-negotiable. That's why our store took off and it's doing very well right now. If I stop doing that, I will see a drop in sales because we just took a trip up to Oklahoma City 2 weeks ago and I listed like 5, maybe 10 a day, and my sales came down because the algorithm wants to reward those who are active and consistent. So you want to make sure you're staying on top of that. So we're doing that now. Today, I actually had my first call with our new virtual assistant team that's going to be in charge of eBay listings. So I told them, can we push 100 a day? Because I've got the inventory to support it. And I love doing item photos. I jam out the podcasts and music, lo-fi beats. I can do that for 8 hours straight, and I love it. So I'm going to be pumping out 100 items a day for the team. And what they're doing is they're saving everything as drafts. And then I can go in and select 30, 40, 50 a day and push those out live. So we're going to be following that exact same method.
So are you going to be doing like custom SKUs that way you can stay organized or?
Correct. Yep. Everything. And we've been doing that for the last couple of years. Everything has a custom SKU to it. So, and I should have taken, maybe I can grab a picture when I'm shipping tomorrow and show you guys what the storage situation looks like. We use what's called an infinite number system. So we have SKUs that we just print off on a regular item label, and everything we do gets put into a clear poly bag, and then it gets assigned a SKU, and it's just one through infinite. So right now we're up to the 1700s. So everything gets a SKU, and that SKU is just neatly lined up in these long, skinny boxes. It's a 32 by 8 by 8, and those are all lined up in shelves. And so that's how we can tell where the item is located. And then, especially using a virtual assistant team now, in order to keep an eye on my buy costs. And on eBay, you can actually take offers and you can send offers out, which is one of my favorite parts. We had, I believe, 60% of last year's sales happen via offers. So if I have something listed for 50, but I only paid 10, if I get watchers on that, because customers can watch an item, basically save it, and it will notify them if there's any changes in the pricing. What can happen is you as a seller can send an offer out, and that way I might send out a $35 offer because it's still profitable for me, and it goes to just the people that are watching it, which is pretty cool. And vice versa, somebody can send you an offer specifically on that item as well. So having that in mind, I like my buy cost to be in my SKU as well. So we do the item number to know where it's at when we're shipping. We do the location. So I abbreviate where I bought it from, which is like GW is Goodwill. It might be a specific thrift store. GS is garage sale. Um, I'll have like an Amazon return. So AR is Amazon returns. I'll have these different SKUs. And then I'll have the buy cost on there as well. So I can see right up front what I'm dealing with. And like I said earlier, everyone does this so differently, guys. You can go have someone else talk about eBay tomorrow and they're going to cover a whole different world. They might do things completely different. This is just what's worked best for us. And I'm very, very pumped about it right now.
Where exactly is the SKU that you enter in?
So custom SKU, welcome to most platforms where they get a little glitchy or wonky sometimes. eBay changes it. It could be in two spots depending on your store. Some stores, I have seen it, it should be underneath where you create the title. So when you create the listing, you write out your title, there's an option for subtitle, and then underneath that should be the custom SKU option. If it's not, on the right-hand side, there's a little toggle with settings. Sometimes it will hang out there where you can toggle it on. If it's not, it's going to live on the very bottom of your item specifics, which is a huge pain. But those are a few spots it should be at. If it's not, shoot me a message. I can help you find out where that's at in your account.
Cool. Yeah, I never actually noticed the SKU there.
Yep. So that SKU, by the way, the customers can never see that. That's a huge thing. So you can embed any information you want. Most of us will do just kind of similar to Amazon and Walmart. We'll embed the buy cost, the supplier, and then the location, which is the item number that we actually assign to it. In the beginning, what's going to happen is you're probably just going to list it all with no SKU. And then when it sells, you know where it's at, which is fine if you have like less than 100 items. That becomes a problem. Trust me, I know. That becomes a problem when you have several hundred or several thousand. Because what happened in the past was when we did this all out of our garage for the first 2 years before we ever got a warehouse space, I was terrible at keeping things organized. And so anytime something sold and I was outsourcing, Trista would call me because she was shipping. She's like, "Hey, this sold on eBay. Where's it at?" I'm like, "Hey, go stare at the middle rack. It's on the left side in the middle shelf on the middle bin. Okay, you see the iPhone stack that's right there? It's underneath the iPhones behind the calculators." That's not a fun game to play. And what's worse is you have to keep track of your account health. You have to have healthy metrics. If you cancel an item that you sold, just like with Walmart and Amazon, they're very strict on it. Your metrics will get hit. And what happens is Amazon will, or I'm sorry, well, eBay will assign a seller level to you. So you have below standard, you have above standard, and you have a pro seller badge, right? And so that top rated seller is what you want to get. That's where you get more views, cheaper discount on your fees, etc. But you do not want to be canceling orders because you can't find them. So stay organized, please. And it does, in the beginning, my organizing looked like a big box and I would title it A. So anything in the A box, that's what was on the SKU. And then when that was full, everything else went to B and C. Then it got to the infinity system now, which everything gets assigned 1 through infinity. And we're at the 1700. So everything has a SKU and it's all lined up in numerical order on there. You guys ready for some numbers? Because again, there's some people on YouTube, I'm not going to name names. There's some people on YouTube in the Amazon, Walmart, and eBay space that all make videos talking about numbers that are not theirs. I'm bringing you guys behind the scenes, being transparent and raw because that's how we do things here. So reports for July 1st through August 31st, this very top one. My whopping sales were $1,286 for 2 months. 2 months. And this was just me listing maybe 2 times a week, 3 here, 5 here. If I was motivated, man, I might do 10. I was killing it on that day. But I was inconsistent, which means eBay was not rewarding me. eBay wants to see you in there all the time listing on a daily basis if you can. Now, all after my selling costs, my net sales, this is what is deposited back into my bank account after the fees, after the shipping labels are paid for. This is not including my buy cost. So one caveat with eBay is they don't have programs allowed into their backend. So we don't have a clean accounting system software like an inventory lab or a scan power or anything like that. We don't have that. So we on our own spreadsheet keep track of that. But within this image here, this is not including a buy cost. The nice part is with thrifted items, my buy cost is like $3 or $4 per item. Very cheap. So with this being said, whopping $600 net back into my bank account being inconsistent. This is over July and August. Now we look into September, October, leading up to Q4. I was like, hey, I've got to start increasing my listings. So now I was doing every other day about three to five listings. 5 was a good day. Then eBay rewarded me. Hey, he's being consistent. Let's show more customers his items, and things started moving. I don't care about the sales number, to be honest, which nobody should. You should care about this number right here, which is net. What's going back into your bank account? If you're on social media, I'm not going to call people out. I'm sorry to name any social media accounts that are showing their orange bars and the bullshit numbers. I'm sick of it, man. I know you guys are too. We do not care about sales. We don't care about revenue because those people flaunting $100,000 months are making like 10 grand. Usually they're selling courses, and that's a whole nother rabbit trail we can go down. What matters most is this number right here, your net sales. What is deposited back into your bank account? I got rewarded those 2 months. Again, this is September and October. This is 60 full days. $2,800 back into my bank account. In an eBay thrifting world, you can estimate about 50, sometimes 60% after my buy cost. That's my margin. And I know as an Amazon seller, you're like, whoa, that's the beautiful part about eBay, especially if you get into the thrifting side, which I'd love to come back if you guys want and dive into a thrifting specific call, show you guys what we're doing in that world. Roughly 50% is what your actual net profit is, which is great. In an Amazon world, if you get 3 grand before your buy cost, after your buy cost, you might be making $1,000 at best, right? So this is increasing here over those 2 months. Here's the switch that happened and why it is relevant to you guys and why I wanted to show a step-by-step what happened over the summer. This report is for November 1st, basically what I consider the 2 best Q4 months, right? November 1st through December 31st. So now we're looking at in my bank account was deposited $12,400. Huge jump, right? Literally pulled an extra 10 grand net. My sales, if you even care about that, went from 5K to 22K. And this is where I can post it on Instagram. Like, cool, I did 22K. There's no context behind that. There's no story involved. You guys get the context. You get the story of what happened. Was I thrifting more? No. My wife cut me off from thrifting during this time because I have 2 storage units of unlisted items. What happened was I pulled all of my Walmart stuff that could not go WFS. I was restricted, whatever the case may be. All my old Amazon stuff that I had dealt with that I just never shipped back in. I started listing all of that on eBay. And over half of these items were just Walmart and Amazon buys that had sat for probably a year to 2 years. They came with us from our warehouse into the storage units and sat for 6 months. I had these items for well over a year. Even on the low end, if I say that half of this number is because of thrifted items, Facebook Marketplace items, this is $6,000 recovered from Amazon and Walmart inventory that was sitting around. I got $6,000 back into my bank that I was able to reinvest into better product and now get to where we are now, which is scaling the crap out of the same. Because now I'm on a target right now where I want 10,000 new listings up on our eBay account this year, which sounds like a lot, but when you break a big picture number down to a daily, that's 30 per day. It's 28 to be exact. It's 30 items a day. That's not hard to do. And that's what I'm on track with sticking with right now. I was able to recover $6,000 minimum. Realistically, it's probably closer to 8 on just Amazon and Walmart stuff that had been sitting around for way too long. So coming into this call, I wanted to showcase all of that for you and give you the whole backstory and the whole context to hopefully inspire at least one of you that is like, holy shit, man, I think I might have $6,000 sitting in my garage too. Hopefully this helps inspire one of you to take this seriously and get your money back. Here's the caveat with this though, and I've seen this happen many, many times when I've worked with people. When you sell, we'll call them bad buys. I'm going to group the restricted, all that stuff I'm going to call bad buys. When you group the bad buys together and you start listing them on eBay, you cannot be in a mindset of, I bought it for 10, I have to sell it for 20 so I can make a profit. That's not the game with this. The game for eBay as an Amazon seller is to get as much of your buy cost back as you can. You probably won't break even on what your original buy cost was. If you spent 10 bucks on the item, but you can net 5 or 6 back in your pocket, that's phenomenal. One part that holds Amazon sellers back is the fact that they look at the product that they have and they look at eBay and they're like, yeah, but I won't even break even. You're going to get way more than just letting it sit around in your garage. You might as well get as much back as you possibly can and re-inject that back into your business with better stuff. Especially if you look at, and I want to call everyone out, every single person on the call right now. I want you to comment in the chat. How long have you been sitting on your death pile? And that death pile term is just categorizing your bad Walmart buys, your restricted items, stranded, anything that you have in your house or your garage or your storage unit or your warehouse right now. How long has it been sitting there? And how long have you been telling yourself, like, man, I need to get this stuff up? Now, step 2, comment in the chat. How much, if you can estimate, how much buy cost do you have sitting in that pile? Because now it starts to get a little painful. And I'm pausing because I want you guys to get vulnerable here. Put it in the chat. How much buy cost is tied up in your death piles? No idea. That's a brutally honest one. We have no idea. Way too much. Couple thousand. These are big ass numbers, guys. Do you guys see the power? Hopefully this opened up your eyes a little bit to the potential of just getting your buy cost as close to it back as you can. It is so worth it. So if you came into this call thinking like, oh, he's going to teach us about thrifting and selling on eBay. No, this call was for Amazon and Walmart sellers that are sitting on the restricted items, their bad buys, etc. We got to get your money back. So now my next question, the final question is, who is going to commit to getting at least 3 minimum per day listings done from that death pile? That will take you 5 or 10 minutes. And you don't need anything fancy. If you guys don't know, eBay has a background removal tool. I have taken photos with my item on a parking lot's ground because I just picked it up. The guy drove away and it was a high dollar item. I photoed it on the ground. You can use eBay's own background remover. It will automatically background remove so it's white. I've taken photos on the ground or in a dirty warehouse on the floor and they look like beautiful pictures that were professionally done. You would never know. So you don't even need the fancy backdrop and all this stuff. You can start with your phone. If you got some daylight, set it up on a table, take the photo. eBay's background removal tool will make it look all crispy clean and get that buy cost back, man. You got to get that money back in your pocket, reinvest it, and go build yourself a better business this year. Hopefully, most people said within 6 or 12 months you've been sitting on that death pile. Hopefully you are a better seller today than you were 6 months ago. Hopefully you're smarter with your buys, which means if you got your money back, you're going to be way more picky with what you purchase, and you're probably not going to make those same buys. Q&A. I know it's a lot to take in, but I wanted to rapid fire this thing, give you guys some context for what I've been up to, what I'm doing. We haven't even touched the Facebook Marketplace side, which if you guys are game, I have some bonus slides for those that want to do after hours session. If y'all are game, we could do some Facebook Marketplace fun stuff. It won't go on for 2 hours, I promise. But if you guys got an extra, it might go an hour. Really, it's up to Andrew and Amanda. They're the ones hosting this thing, depending how long you guys want to go.
I got a question.
Hey, don't leave Brian out.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was picking on Chaz. It's not just me and Andrew. Brian is a very valuable member of this community.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Go ahead, Brian.
Difference between sold and completed.
So sold is going to be someone actually bought it. Completed might be a case of, for example, if you can do auctions. Everyone knows eBay is an auction platform. There's not that many auctions nowadays. It's usually buy it now. But if something goes to auction and it doesn't sell, it will show as completed, right? Or if you list something, typically it's on a 30-day rotation. So there's basically a timer. When you look at your listings, there's a timer and everything you can have auto relist every 30 days. If it doesn't sell in those 30 days and that auto relist is not selected, then it just gets put into ended, but not actually sold, which is called completed. So basically, I really don't ever look at completed. I'm looking at the actual sold price is what I'm going by. Because somebody can price something for 500 bucks and it would show completed because the listing did its thing, it ran its time, but nobody bought it, right? Versus it might actually be selling for 300.
Profit calculator.
Yes. If you
Yeah, any type of
guys,
way.
yeah, actually, let me grab a link here. So in general, if you're out in the field, we call it out in the field. If you're in thrift stores looking for stuff specifically for eBay, you can roughly estimate 13% as your fees. And then this is where it depends on if you're going to charge shipping to the buyer. If you include shipping, you kind of have to know those numbers too. But there are plenty of calculators. This is one of them I'll pop in the chat here. Every category is slightly different, just like Amazon and Walmart. Roughly, it's 13.25 for most items. And then you get some discounts once you uh, pay for a higher store subscription or you get a top rated seller badge. There's different discounts you can get that way. In general, I subtract 13% from whatever sale price I think it can get. Or you can just plug your numbers into that calculator right there. And if you're in the recording, can't see the link there, just type Google search eBay calculator, and there's a ton right there on the front page, and it's all free.
I'm gonna keep asking questions if nobody else has anything.
I'm
All right,
I'm here for it, man. I love this
all
stuff.
right.
This has
So
been my baby.
say you got 5 pairs of shoes of the same style. Are you able to piggyback each style or each shoe off one listing,
Yes,
and
sir.
then say just take one picture? Well,
Yep.
one set of pictures.
Yep. So there's two ways to do this. You can create just similar to, I'm familiar with the Amazon platform more than Walmart. Sarah might know about variations, setting up variations. You can set up a variation listing in eBay. So you can select a drop down that has different sizes, possibly different colors of the same model. I will make a different listing for each one. And so what I can do though is as long as there's not a tag that shows the size in the photo, you can take one set of photos of one pair and just sell similar off your own listing, and it will actually save your own photos on that new listing. So you can just rinse and repeat, sell similar off your own listing, and it will keep the data and the photos, same title, swap out the sizes or the colors, and do it that way too.
That's great stuff. Body of the listing. So when I used to sell stuff back in, I don't even know, it was like 2020 or so on eBay. I had like a preset like copy paste that I put in the body of
Mhm.
the listing. Is there anything that you'd put in there besides the description of the actual item?
Honestly,
Or
there's now an AI button. I click the AI button and it grabs the keywords out of the title and the specifics and it writes out a description for you. It's good about 90% of the time. You always want to review it. I say this because Trista was using it the other night. And in eBay, in your item specifics, one of the toggles for clothing is regular or big and tall. And she put regular, which is most clothing. And in the AI descriptor, it said fits regular people, which sounds terrible. So yeah, that's what I do. It's a click of the button. It works 90% of the time. I've not had it do that on my men's. I'd focus on men's clothing and shoes. She does the women's side. So maybe it was the women's side it's doing that more with, but I use that button a lot. What I used to do, and I've done this for years and it worked out fine, is I copy and paste the title into the description. That's it. And then, of course, if there's flaws or any notations you need to make, you make sure you put that in there as well. But I would just copy and paste the title. And nowadays, I'm just clicking the AI description. It's accurate like 90% of the time. And you even can just have templates put in there as well. So same thing as we have shipping templates, condition templates. You can set up templates for your description as well.
Tim in the comments says, do VAs have a problem accessing eBay? In the past, I thought eBay didn't like VAs.
They may not have in the past, so they work off user permissions the same way Amazon and Walmart do now. The nice part is, so like with Walmart currently, even if you deselect most of the permissions, they have access to all your numbers. It's a huge pain in the butt. But with eBay, you can hand select, like they cannot run download reports, they can't access your orders, they can only make drafts within there. But they have a specific spot, and actually, I can bullet point it for you. If you go to the top left, near your store name on the top left, click on account settings. On the right side is permissions, and then you can invite someone via their email. Once they accept it, then they log into their account, which gets into your account via third party. So they can't access bank account numbers, none of that. They can just go in there and make listings and drafts. So we deal with some shipping of other people's stuff as well. So we log in via user permissions as a VA would, and we ship their stuff from their own account that's listed with us. So different ways to do it there.
Amy says, how about I post as new open box and the buyer threatened to report you for selling counterfeit? Can I get banned or closed down?
I mean, it happens. I've never personally dealt with it. We've sold thousands of items. It can happen where you can get counterfeit claims and different things like that. Very rarely have I ever heard eBay asking for receipts on stuff. Usually, if that happens, it's because you've had multiple people report you for counterfeit, or you're doing stupid high volume, talking hundreds of thousands, if not millions. Those guys can get flagged a little bit more, but for the average person doing, at the high end, like 250K per year, I've never heard of those type of issues actually playing out. But as long as you're accurately, just like any other platform, accurately describing your item. So if you do have an open box, you never want to list that as new. New, just like any platform, should be factory sealed the exact same way that you would pick it off a shelf. If the tape is even cut on something, then you have to list it as open box. Even if it is brand new on the inside, everything is sealed, because that is not a true factory seal on the box. You do open box. I know very large sellers that don't list anything above used, even if it's brand new, because they just don't want the brands eventually coming at them for the brand new products and proof of authenticity. If you sell a used item, there's almost no, I mean, there is a very tiny percentage of a chance you might ever have issues, but used is always the safest bet if it's going to be a concern of yours. All good there. Any other questions I can help out with on the eBay front?
Yeah, you mentioned like account health. I've had a few things happen. I haven't had any like restrictions or anything, but well, I've had the items be restricted and taken down. But is there something you can fight, or something that's just like, hey, let it go? Like, is there something
Um,
you can see in your account or something?
so you would get an email for sure. Amazon is not friendly about just sending you nice emails about things that are wrong. eBay will tell you at least what's wrong, which is nice. So they'll tell you the biggest thing you'll face on eBay is something called Vero, which is essentially IP claim. So Vero is going to be a list of, like, you can't use the word Kleenex because it's trademarked. You can't use the word Velcro. It's trademarked, like random stuff like that. So you might get a Vero on your account, which falls off after a certain amount of time. Never had too many issues with that. Otterbox, brand new. Patagonia did a wave of IP stuff a few years ago. I haven't heard much in the last year. So there's just random little things like that, but they will always email you and say, hey, you've got a Vero claim with this product. They'll even tell you which products they are, and they'll delist them for you. Um, Amazon, on the other hand, is just like, you have an IP claim or a counterfeit, blah, 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 you're suspended. So yeah, at least eBay will kind of work with you in that case. And then of course, if you need to submit receipts or anything, you can open up cases the same way that you can on the other platforms.
Okay. It was just was just something I was trying to resell for a friend to try and recoup some money, and then it got taken down due to I don't know, like maybe there's something in the medicine or something.
Yeah, that kind of category gets a little wonky. If it's anything they could, even if it's not, but if they could deem it as like over the counter prescription or like over the counter versus prescription, like that kind of category can get a little wonky.
It was something like that, yeah.
Yeah, like CPAP masks is a lot of people got suspended over those. You can't list those. Medical devices in general, I just stay away from, even if they're approved. I stay away from those. Even though there's been a lot of potential money it could be made, I stay away from categories that can deal with like the medicines, medical type devices, even like a medical table of some sort. I've stayed away from that kind of stuff. And by the way, the mentioning the medical table, if it popped in anyone's head, like how do you ship that? There's a whole arbitrage opportunity getting things like restaurant equipment, oversized stuff, furniture. You can sell cars, and literally just use LTL the same way you do Amazon or Walmart. You can freight stuff to customers. So if you want to deal with high profit stuff, getting into it's on my to-do list to test this out is like restaurant equipment, ovens, stove tops, that kind of stuff. I always want to try out.
You'll have to let us know how that goes.
Yeah, no, I'm excited. The nice part is our storage unit is just these people are amazing. It's a mom and pop unit, so it's not U-Haul or one of the big guys. They don't just support what we do. They have daily USPS pickups for us now. So I do my shipping and I leave my packages at the front desk. And so they had a freight truck show up one time and I'm like, "Wait, can we get freight here?" And she's like, "Yeah, we have one guy that does ceiling fans. He buys and sells ceiling fans. And so he has a delivery once a week." And I'm like, that may have just changed the game a little bit this year. So I now have access to, as long as it's a lift gate, I can get a pallet jack in a unit. So I might play around with that category in a couple months. I'll try it out.
I obviously can't speak on anything recent, but I've definitely sold probably about 20 cars on eBay.
Oh, heck yes.
I used to have them picked up by freight,
That's
or a car hauler, I
amazing.
should say.
That's awesome. Yeah, there's
That
so
was,
many
again, like
opportunities.
2000.
I didn't know this until my buddy did it up in Portland. You can sell land on eBay. He hit me up and he's like, "Hey, I bought some property over in Arkansas." I'm like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Yeah, it was on eBay and they just mail you the deed." And then here's the killer. He bought it for like 8 grand. He flipped it 6 months later for 20 back on eBay. He did a property flip, like not even property as far as real estate. He bought land and flipped it back on eBay.
It's
So
amazing.
when people are like, "I'm broke," I'm like, you can flip anything. There's so much opportunity out there, man. People live in such a scarcity mindset these days. Yeah, this has been the biggest game changer for me, all logistics and business aside. In the last 3 months, I've opened my mindset up to just pure abundance. And guess what's showing up? Abundance. I literally was driving to do a Facebook Marketplace pickup 2 days ago for a toner cartridge. $60 sells for 200 all day. Great. I drove by this little trailer of a home with a cheap little green neon sign that says estate sale, not even ran by a company. I walk in and there's a pair of shoes. I'm like, "Cool, I want the shoes. They sell for 30. I can buy them for 5." I'm like, "Hey, do you happen to have any other shoes or clothing?" She's like, "Yeah, I actually have a rack of clothes I haven't brought out yet." She brings out this rack. It's 50 units of Harley t-shirts. $5 a pop, sells for 20 all day. I'm like, "Can I take them all?" She's like, "Yes, you can." Abundance. If you are struggling with just like a pessimistic, grumpy attitude like I've been the last year because of stress and shutting down a warehouse and personal life going on, snap out of that, man. Look what happens to your life in 3 months if you just snap out of that type of mindset, look at the world abundantly. And this is just a problem amongst sellers. Everyone is taught to keep everything a secret, keep everything close to home. There's not enough product for everyone. You've got to get out of that mindset, man. The more you network with people, the relationships you make. I get people all the time that hit me up now because we've had great relationship. They're like, "Hey, I found all these clothing items. I don't do clothing. Do you want them?" Literally, Andrew and Amanda hit me up and they're like, "Hey, there's a vintage clothing shop that has 500 hats. We're not going to do them. Do you want them?" This is networking, relationships, opening up your mind to abundance, man. That is the world that I live in right now, and it is paying off. So if I'm giving you any advice, screw all the business stuff I just talked about. That right there can literally go change someone's world this year. That's my spiel.
Good stuff. Before you move on to the next thing here, unless anybody else has any questions, Amy says, I got my first account taken down, never got a reason for it, only had posted auto parts. Is that a category? Is it a category to stay away from?
No, auto parts is great. I know full-time sellers that do just auto, and I do some auto stuff myself. I just listed a ton of Harley parts. So yeah, definitely not a category to stay away from. I'd be very curious to see what happened there because usually they will give you a reason. Obviously, the first question is, did you reach out to them and see if there's any type of reconciliation they gave you? It depends how long ago that account was taken down. Maybe reach back out, open up a case. Yeah, I would definitely be curious to see what happened there.
That will help.
Tried several times and tried to scale. I don't know.
Dang. Okay. Amy, shoot me a message. I don't have any direct contacts with eBay, but I might know someone that does. See if we can at least get you a reason at bare minimum. If not, get someone to look at the account and see if we can get you back up and running.
Jeff says stay away from auto tools. Is that something?
I haven't done a lot of auto tool stuff. And
They
now I
use
think
it
I
and
actually
return
don't-
it.
Ah, that would make sense. That would make sense.
They think it's a rental.
And the crappy part too is same thing with Amazon and Walmart. These people who buy and return things like that, they think they're sticking it to the platform. It's like, no, you're sticking that to me. I got a family run business here. I'm trying to feed my kids.
Hey, Chaz,
Yes, sir.
you said you do a lot of shoes and apparel.
Correct.
Do you ever do your shoe authentication?
I do. Yeah, that's a thing. So shoe authentication means that there's an authenticator in Vegas and New York are the two big ones. New York or Jersey. And if eBay flags a certain style of shoe as something that could be highly faked, they have an authenticator that you will ship it to. The shipping works the exact same way. And the best part is it's actually a FedEx label that's provided to you for free. So even if you charged shipping to the customer, that FedEx label is free for you. So I've made a lot of money doing that arbitrage. But it will get shipped to the authenticator. They'll do their microscope checks, make sure it's good. They actually get a little eBay authentication tag attached to it that shows it got authenticated. And then from there, they ship it to the customer. The shipping works for you the exact same way. Same way as international shipping, since we're on that topic, international shipping, that all of your products are automatically enrolled in a global shipping program. So it's a location, it's a warehouse in Kentucky that it will look like a normal order. You ship it to Kentucky, they do the customs forms and all that stuff and ship it for you. You don't have to deal with customs. So that part is pretty cool because you now have a worldwide market for your items. I've sold a lot of stuff overseas. But authentication, it used to be anything over $100 was automatically going to the authenticator. It seems to be random nowadays. You can't select to opt into it. You can't opt out of it. If you're looking at other people's listings, it will be a blue check mark that says authenticity guaranteed. If you sell similar off that listing, you will be in that program. So if you don't want that for some reason, then you find another listing that doesn't have that blue check and you can copy that and it won't be in there. But eBay lately, they've just been kind of randomly picking a bunch of stuff. I had a friggin' $50 pair of shoes get authenticated. It's just a basic pair of Nikes. I'm like, why? It's a running shoe. But like any platform, they've got their icks and stuff that they do for no reason.
Yeah, I just ran into the authentication thing for a pair of shoes. They were new, but the bottom of the shoe had like a little mark that I missed, and it got sent back to me. They were like, "Hey, they're authentic, but they're used, so no, we're
Yes.
shipping it back to you, and you have to refund." I'm like, "Oh, okay." And I saw it when I came back. When it came back, I said, "Okay, that's my fault." Well, that's that.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because that's actually going to be the most common reason why it's rejected is not because it's not authentic, but because it's not in the same condition as you listed it. And they literally put a microscope to these things. So if it looks brand new, but you got that little scuff mark on the side that you missed, it gets
It's
rejected.
right on the bottom, and I
Yep,
saw it. I was like, oh,
for
okay.
sure. Yeah,
Now,
I've had that 3 or 4 times now.
does that cut into any fees? Like, do you end up having to pay for any of that, or because obviously there's
Honestly, I
shipping
should
as
know
well.
the answer. I just don't care, so I never looked. Like I'm so chill about our account stuff anymore. I used to get so much in an uproar about customer returns and getting my $3 back in fees from different things, and I'm just like, just yeah, if you guys follow Mel Robinson, Gibson, what's her name? Robinson, right? Uh, she
Robbins.
has, yeah, she has a Robbins. I haven't listened to her stuff in a while, but she's got this one thing I've always loved, which is just let them, right? So, or she has these little Instagram reels that go around. She talked about one that was just, just let it be, let them do what they want, let things be how they will, and I stopped caring. So I'm like, I eat the customer returns, I flip them back on eBay. I don't care if it's unless I'm dealing with $100 item, like I just don't care about fighting for the extra dollars anymore. It's just not worth the mental space to do. So many, especially new sellers, you see them in Facebook groups like, oh, I had a $30 return, like, like veins popping out. They're all in an uproar. It's like, was that really worth your mental space to give attention to? Because it's just not. So yeah, I should know the answer, Brian, but I don't because I just never looked. Yeah, desperate energy if you're going to attract even more. Again, if you want to call it foo-foo, I'm very much like I was a massage therapist in my former life. So I'm very much about the foo-foo energy stuff. I have felt it. I've seen it firsthand. I'm a firm believer in it. What you put out in the universe is coming back to you. So negative energy, whether it's people or things, I'm not giving time to it. Zero, nothing. I'm looking forward, man. Quantum physics nerd. I love it. I love it.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Do you promote your listings?
I do. I've been running a flat 7% across the board on everything.
7.
The only time that you don't need to run promoted listings is if you have something that is very high in demand, is going to sell very fast, or there's not a lot of other competition. You're just giving eBay extra money for no reason. Like if I look at, so one category I've dealt a lot in is vintage sealed video games, specifically ones that I can send in and get graded. So I'm talking like three, five, $10,000 video games. When I list those, I don't have competition, so I don't need to promote those and give eBay an extra percentage, right? But if I've got something like a Nike Metcon shoe, where I go and do a Google search or an eBay search and I see there's 80,000 other Nike shoes, I'm going to promote that one. So I get a better chance of it going up on that first page.
Yeah.
And that's different for everyone. Some people will tell you they run, and the minimum now is 2%. You never used to have a minimum, then it went to 1. I believe it's at 2% as a minimum now. Some people do just bare minimum. I've done tests on our own account, and I think it was 70% of our total sales come from promoted listings. So I'm like, I hate giving eBay extra money if I don't need to, but it works. I'm paying
Yeah.
them for advertising, so it works.
It looks like I have some between 4 and 6, I guess.
Yep.
I just play around just to see how it works. And then I go back and like search as if I'm the buyer and like does my listing pop up?
Yeah, for sure. If you want the true result of that is because we do the same thing with the YouTube side. If I want to see where my YouTube video is, I'll search my own stuff. But if you do that because it's an algorithm, it already knows you're on the same IP address and all that. Make sure you're logged out, turn on a VPN and use a different type of browser. That's like a true new user looking at it. That's where you can
Okay.
see if you're actually on that front page. Yeah, we're doing the same thing on the YouTube side where it's like, I posted that video 2 weeks ago. Is it still on the front page? Crap, I'm on the second.
Now, do you ever do variation listings? Because
Uh, I I don't. I
oh,
used to, and I stopped doing it. Honestly, the real reason is because it was broken for a while. Like it just wouldn't let me create a variation of anything. So I just started doing separate listings and I just kind of stuck with it.
sometimes it's hard, but if I find a similar listing, then I can kind of like copy it and now it's like there.
Yep.
Weird.
Yep.
Um, because I made a variation listing and I was like, okay, let me test something. You know how people do like they filter cheapest to highest?
Yep.
Well, I have them all different pricing, but and if I have one that's like a break even or a loss,
Ah,
maybe
okay.
I'll be noticed and they'll see me higher on the page
There
because I
you
actually
go.
want the other sales on the other items.
Yeah, because then
I
they
don't
start
know if
clicking
that actually
around.
worked, but
The theory is there.
possible.
I approve of it. I think that's
It's
great.
it was a good idea.
Yeah. No, that's I didn't
And
even
the
think about
listing
it
did
that
really
way.
well, so
Nice. It probably worked. And that's ultimately like any platform. You got to test out your own stuff. I might say I run my store on 7% promoted ads, and everyone will run and go do 7%. It may not work for your store the way it is mine because I have different metrics. I have different feedback. I have all these different metrics at play. Some people run 3% and it works. Some people do 10 and it works. I'm actually thinking, I was thinking about this earlier. It's funny you brought that up. I was thinking about doing a test. I've been running 7% for like 3 weeks in a row, and sales are like they're on cruise control. They're good. But I'm like, what if I just bump to 10? I don't like giving away a few extra bucks per item, but my average thrifted type items or Facebook Marketplace right now, my average cost is less than 6 and my average sale price is over 30. So I'm like, I'm making bank on these items. I can afford a few extra bucks. So I might play around with listing 10% across the store for a week. And I'll document, I'll do a YouTube video on it and see if there's that much of a difference in increase. Because if there's not, I'm going back to 7. Or you can do it the other way. If you've been running a certain amount like 7, run it for 5. If you don't have a decrease in sales, keep it at 5. You don't need to give these platforms any more money than they need. Do you find if you do any promoted listings, it boosts your listings still even when they've ended? Like you've given eBay money now, so they like you. That probably plays a big role in it. It'll work if you believe it work. Yeah, if you believe in it enough, then I think abundantly it will work. I do think there is something at play there, though. I think if eBay sees that you're listing good items at a good price and you're giving them money via promoted listings, I think they're just going to continue pushing out your new stuff. And that's ultimately what's happening. A lot of my newer stuff is selling way faster nowadays than some of my stuff 6 months ago. Because I did a big uptick. I used to do 5 a day was like my bread and butter as far as new listings. And now I'm on a consistent 30 a day is my minimum. I'm getting ready to bump that up to 50. So I think eBay is going to reward you the more you're playing in their playground like that.
now do you ever sell trading cards?
No, that's one category I never got into. I
I
don't know
love it.
sports at all. And I
Well,
did
I've been
coach.
doing not sports. It's like Magic the Gathering
Oh
mostly.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I haven't myself. I've done Pokemon cards because that's the only category I know.
Yeah.
I don't know Magic. I don't know sports. So I'm like, that takes away two huge ones. But I've done a fair amount of Pokemon stuff.
Have you sold singles?
Yep.
Yeah.
Especially during COVID, because COVID and Logan Paul caused the Pokemon craze in 2021, which is where I actually made my best sale ever. It was found on eBay. We did an off eBay transaction. I don't ever recommend you guys do this. It was sketchy looking back. I should never have done this. But I had a sealed Game Boy. Did anyone have Game Boy Pokemon, the yellow edition? Pikachu on the front box, the big yellow
I don't remember.
box. I found that sealed, meaning the shrink wrap was never open from 1999. I bought it off Mercari because at the time I was already buying video games that were sealed because I saw an uptrend happening after COVID. I was even doing it before COVID for the buying. And I bought this thing off Mercari for $500, which at the time was stupid high. Trista almost killed me that day because I bought it without, I didn't ask her first. I'm a forgiveness, not permissions type of guy, which most people that know me personally have found that to be. I bought it for 500, which was stupid at the time. I sent it in for grading. So they put it in a hard case and they assign it a grade based on the seal in the box condition. And it got a very good grade. And I paid $97 for that. So I'm in this thing about 600 bucks, a little bit less than that. I listed it at the peak of Pokemon craze. The cards were the main one that made it go crazy. The cards were awesome. But because of that, the carryover went into the video game world. People went nuts for the seal video games. And I had the seal video game and the Pokemon market in one item. So this guy found me on Facebook. We did an offsite deal. Don't recommend, but I did it for $16,000. That was my best flip I've ever done. I don't know if I'm ever going to top that one. It was so good, but that's the game. That could, and not to say that mine was like some rare flip. eBay, I listed mine on eBay for 25,000 because that's what they were selling for between 15 and 20. So even though I did mine off eBay during that time, eBay, and this just comes down to, this is a whole nother session we can do too, is trending markets and how to pay attention to those. Because that's what I did. I was buying up video games that were sealed and I was sending them in for grading. And then when COVID popped, collectors went nuts. I sold Super Nintendo Killer Instinct. I regret this sale because I love that game. And it's the only black cartridge. So it was a black box, black cartridge. I sold that for $3,500. I got that for like 150. Just you can pay attention to trends like this on eBay, the same way you do during Q4, all the hot toys on Amazon and Walmart. You could do the same thing in the eBay world for different collector stuff. So if you guys want to deep dive we'll go 3 or 4 calls deep at some point if you guys want, and we'll showcase some of that stuff. I love this stuff, man. It bugs Trista so much. I talk about this all day, every day, 7 days a week. And she's like, I'm glad you have internet friends.
Becoming obsessed with things like this are a good thing, though.
It's so good. It's been the best thing for my mental health too over this last like 3 years, especially like the failed prep center location that we had here was the hardest time we've ever been through. So much stress involved. I put on like 20 pounds, drinking every day. Like it was just not a good spot for me mentally. And then freeing up my mental space of the warehouse opened up the ability for me to ask the question, what do I want to do with my life? And I'm like, I'm going to go back to doing what I was most happy doing. It's buying and selling shit and making videos about it. And that's what I've been doing. And it's like when you, like you said, like when you have something you can become actually passionate about and you could talk about all day and not get tired of it, I freaking love it. And then it's almost shocking to me when it's like, do these couple hour Zoom calls and people are still here listening. So thank you guys for your time. Amanda, I hear it before bed every night. Andrew and I would get along very well. This is when you love something, man, you can't turn it off. I can dilute it for a couple hours to like hang with the kids and the fam and stuff, or like go to a movie. The second I'm back home though, let's go. Like I'm ready.
It's hard. I really don't have an off switch. It's like I just
Yep.
love selling stuff and I love all the opportunities with all these different platforms. And every platform has its benefits,
Yep.
you get pros and cons to everything. And I've been obsessed with just selling stuff for a long time. It's just
Amen to that, brother.
I can't get enough.
Yeah. Yeah. I trust me, I get it. I'm right there with you.
Like
You're gonna sell stuff in your sleep, now close your eye holes. That's awesome.
like another thing I'm sure you know, but it wasn't mentioned yet. If you sell trading cards, like single ones, you can do eBay standard envelopes. And if
Yes.
the card is $20 or under, it's going to cost you 69 cents to ship. And you can't beat that.
There's guys who just move thousands of cards a week, and that's the model. And they can sell them for like $5 and $6, right? It's like if they and
Yeah, I
usually
can
they're
still make it a little bit.
yeah, usually they're doing these large bulk buyouts of collections. So they'll sell off, if they bought a collection for $500 and they make that back on 3 good cards, that's free money for the rest of them. There's people who built a whole model out of that. It's just pure volume. It's crazy. Brian, I'm deactivated and still obsessed. That's when you know you're obsessed. If you can't physically even sell on the platform and you're still thinking about it. That's the
I'm
beautiful
not
part.
even. I'm not even still just thinking about it. I'm still hosting calls. I'm still doing all sorts of
Oh
Amazon stuff.
man. I love it, man. And that's, I wish more
I'll
people
be
would do that.
back.
Oh yeah, yeah. You'll get it back for sure. I'm right there with you though. We gotta fight for it. We're gonna get them, but we're
Sure.
gonna fight for it. Cool. Well, if you guys are game, we'll call
Yeah.
this after hours crew. If you guys want to do I got 2 more slides to cover Facebook Marketplace sourcing 101. And then if you guys want to drop some zip codes, not right this second, we'll get there. But if you guys want to drop some zip codes, we can find you guys some deals. Because I'm cut off from sourcing right now because I have too much via the wife. So I'm actually cut off. But that doesn't mean I can't find you guys some stuff. I literally pop in random people's zip codes just because I love it. I'm on Facebook like 10 times a day. So if you guys are cool with that, I'm going to take a brief intermission. I got to refill water because if you guys are cool with it, I've got like another hour to spare before the kids and all them get home. So I'm more than happy to hang out here.
Oh yeah, go get your gallon of water. We're game.
As Sarah knows, I tell everyone, drink your water.
How about I stop the recording here and then we'll pick it back up as like a part 2, or maybe not even record it. I don't know.
Or you could put your editing skills to use and cut it. It's silence.
No, I had to edit the last one.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I did that.
Round 2. This will be the after hours crew. All right. Trying to think how I want to do this. Actually, let's switch my tabs. All right, this will work better.
If you guys want super high ROI items for eBay, make a friend at Home Depot and find some penny items.
Oh, heck yeah. If you guys
It's a
don't know,
good-
there's some Facebook groups for that world. Those guys are, there's people who do that full time, 8 hours a day, hustling the penny items. Crazy. All right, trying to figure out where my tabs are. There they are. All right, again, Facebook opened up. Now we get into the fun part. So you guys got to see from the Amazon seller perspective, working with eBay. Now you get to see what I enjoy most right now. All right, we will do share screen once more. All right, can you guys see the Q&A right there? All right, cool.
Yes.
So now, all right, Facebook Marketplace sourcing for eBay. I always feel compelled to say this. I do not recommend Facebook Marketplace sourcing for Amazon or Walmart because you do not have a paper trail. Yes, you can sell used electronics. That's a different conversation, different world. We're not going to talk about it tonight. This is purely eBay sourcing. Here's my best practices. And you guys are actually some of the first ones that get to see this type of breakdown. So, number 1, like any sourcing method, you don't just go out retail arbitrage sourcing every now and then. The same thing applies here for Facebook. You've got to be consistent with it. So the people that are like, my Facebook marketplace sucks. First question is, how often are you checking? Well, I pop on every couple days for like 5 minutes. Not enough. I say scroll Facebook marketplace 3 to 5 times per day for only 5 or 10 minutes. That's the big difference here with the sourcing is you're not doing an hour-long sourcing session. These ones will be long because I'm going to use multiple zip codes and go and find you guys some stuff. But in general, I'm never scrolling for more than 10 minutes. 15 max. If I'm on a roll and I got some good messages going out, I'll keep going. But I'm only looking 5 or 10 minutes because if it's not on my front page, I'm going to close it out, check back in an hour or two, and look for those new listings that come up through the day. Because the beautiful part is people are not posting on Facebook Marketplace just in the mornings or just in the afternoons or just in the evening. They're posting 24/7, man. I have found deals. If I'm up at 2 a.m. and I can't sleep, I have found deals that just got listed. So rule number 1, you've got to be willing to be consistent with this. Scroll 3 to 5 times a day. I do like 10 times a day when I'm in sourcing mode. I am like for 10 hours in a row, I'm checking every single hour. Don't recommend that. It's very unhealthy, but I found a lot of good money that way. Number 2, It's an algorithm, which means it's going to feed you the type of items it thinks you want to see. So if you open up your Facebook and you're seeing antique drawers and dressers and rocking chairs and cars and just random stuff you're not going to flip on eBay, you need to fine tune your algorithm. This means go start clicking around random items in the categories that you would be interested in. This doesn't mean you're going to go hunt down profitable items. If you're interested in cameras and lenses, which is a killer, I just shipped one today, killer category to be in. Start clicking on tons of lenses and cameras, random ones of the brands that you're interested in, Canon, Sony, etc. What's going to happen is over time, as you click on more like items, Facebook is going to feed you more of those things. And then it's less time you have to spend scrolling because it's feeding you the best stuff right up front. My Facebook Marketplace is now set to where it's showing me the best stuff I've been looking for this week. This week, when we open up my Facebook, you're going to see vintage Levi's jackets, leather jackets. You're going to see jeans, some random stuff because that's what I've been messaging about and sourcing this week. I've actually got tonight after this call, I just messaged her back on this little break we had. I'm picking up a vintage Levi's jacket. I think will sell for about 200, maybe 250. I'm getting it for $40. Then that literally happened live right before this call. So you're going to see my Facebook being full of that. But the more I click around on cameras and lenses and calculators and different things we're going to find tonight, hopefully, I'm going to start seeing more of that for a few days. So number 2 is click on the items of interest just to fix your algorithm to give you more of the good stuff. You're not really sourcing or looking for profit right now. Just click on the random items of the type of brands and categories you're interested in. Number 2, research everything that you are not familiar with. This is a big one. I can't tell you how many years I wasted scrolling right over things because I put my personal opinion to it. So if I'm looking at cameras and I might see an old beat up point and shoot camera and I'm like, they've got it listed for 20, it's probably not worth that much, and I'll keep scrolling. I have a rule in life now with sourcing. If I've never looked up the brand, I'm looking it up. If I've never looked up the model, I'm going to look it up. So what happens is that little $20 point and shoot camera is a Canon ELPH. In the Canon ELPH series, those old point and shoots that we've all probably had at one point or another, used, beat up condition, those can sell for over $100 all day. I've got them at garage sales for $5.25 before. I found them in thrift stores. Those can be $80 to $100 all day long. I have sold them as high as $300 for certain models. So never prejudge an item, never put your opinion to it. It's the same thing we teach in retail arbitrage and online arbitrage, right? You don't go into Walmart and start scanning and scan with your brain and just prejudge it like, oh, that's garbage, that's cheap, I'm not even going to check that. Like, you don't wait, you got to check every single thing to get the best stuff. So with this, you're going to look up the comps, which is searching it on eBay, looking at sold filters. We're going to do this live so you guys get to see all this in action. Number 4, this is a big one, is also when people are like, my Facebook sucks. If you're in a tiny town, you've got to be willing to travel. If you're in a tiny town, you don't have that many people posting good stuff. I often will take 1 or 2 hour trips to a different city, but I'll do number 5, which is batch my pickups. So if I'll filter down. So for example, my area, I'm in a smaller town called New Braunfels, which is in between San Antonio and Austin. I've got about 45 minutes either way, which is great because I can choose which direction I want to go, but I still have a good 45 minutes to drive. Now, if I get into the fancier, more expensive part of Austin, that's about an hour, hour and a half. So what I will do is I will filter my Facebook to that area, find at least one good profitable item, and then that's a green light for me to be like, okay, I am going to pick that up. What else can I find around that area? And I'll batch together on the same day 5 or 6 pickups, which is not uncommon for me to do. I've done as high as, I think my best day I did 10 pickups in one day one time. One day. I made a couple $1,000s profit because it was all electronics. So I'll be willing to drive an hour and a half, 2 hours, 3 hours away If it's worth it, of course, you gotta have to have a dollar amount to your time here. Don't go drive and pick up a $20 profit item and waste an hour of your time. It's not worth it. I won't leave the sounds terrible. I won't leave the house unless I'm going to make at least $100 on something. If it's one single flip. Like the toner cartridge I left the house to go pick up yesterday, $60 and it sells for 250 and it's 15 minutes down the road. Yeah, that's worth my time. It's not worth your time to go pick up a cheap calculator you'll make $10 on, unless it's something that's already going to be on your route, it's close by, etc. So be willing to travel, and if you are traveling, batch your pickups together. I've taken this to the extreme, to the point where I even have it on video. I have this all on YouTube. I have uh, sourced other cities, not in my state, and flown out to do the pickups and ship them back. So when I was just out in Orlando with Sarah and Ryan from Rally Roots, we all three run the Sellers Network Discord, and we did a big meetup with Chris Grant. We had about 70 sellers at this thing in Orlando. But you know what I did? I scheduled an extra day and a half specifically for Facebook Marketplace pickups. And I was able to go and absolutely demolish that trip. I just did this with Oklahoma City. We took a 5 hour road, well, not five, it turned into like 10 with kids and a dog, but we took a road trip up to Oklahoma City, and I was able to take an extra day and go clean up Oklahoma City, including a couple pair of 1960s Levi's jeans that are worth about $500 to $800 a piece. They were $5 in a box in someone's warehouse. This is the power in being willing to travel and do what others are not willing to do, because you'll get what others are not going to get. It's the same thing in retail arbitrage. You can go scan the clearance section, which is like your local town, but that's low hanging fruit. Who's willing to go hop on a plane? And even after expenses, I did a whole video on our channel of the Orlando trip. Even after my flight, hotel, rental car, all of it, I still made over $1,000 profit on the items I shipped back here. So be willing to travel. It doesn't mean go hop on a plane. I'm nuts and I go to the extremes of stuff. So I'm now I got a Las Vegas episode coming up. I'm flying out to different cities and making this thing worth it. So if you're willing to drive a couple hours though, what's your nearest bigger city, and start looking on Facebook Marketplace around there and see what you can find. This is very crucial. Meet in public places. Do not be showing up at people's houses, especially if you're in some not so great parts of towns. Sketchy people out there in the world. So be safe. Meet in public places. Walmart, Target parking lots are everywhere. You can usually schedule those out. Gas stations, etc. This I put in red because this is going to be the most important question you will ever ask somebody in this game of eBay. This works with Facebook Marketplace, estate sales, garage sales, etc. Do you have more? That's it. I've gotten so many more products out of people because of this question. I just said this earlier. I just went to an estate sale 5 minutes down the road. I wasn't even planning on going there. I was going there for the toner cartridge. And at the estate sale, I found a pair of shoes that was worth flipping. And I asked, hey, do you have any more shoes or clothing? Sure do. They brought out a whole rack of Harley t-shirts, bought 50 of them. I can't tell you how many times I get more product from people because I just asked the question, hey, if you ever have anything else for sale, let me know. I run an online distribution business and I'm always buying shoes and clothing. Oh, I also do electronics. I do video games. I do health and personal care. Whatever your categories are, let people know you have an online business. So if they ever come up with stuff they want to sell, they can hit you up. I've gotten thousands of dollars extra out of asking that one question. Real life examples, because I told you guys earlier, I don't talk about stuff that I've not done myself. Left picture was my Orlando haul. Facebook Marketplace, 65 units. Shipped it back here. In this haul, see these two little calculators? Those are sealed TI 84 plus calculators. One of them is a CX edition, which will sell for about 90. The regular TI 84 plus will sell for about 60 or 70. I paid $30 a piece. Facebook Marketplace, one guy had them both. Pretty sweet. All the clothing, bread and butter stuff. This jacket, I bought for $150. I had no idea what it was, but it had a tag called Lost Worlds. And apparently, and again, this just goes back to my bullet point. Look everything up. I've never heard of that brand. So I went to eBay, typed it in. Lost Worlds makes horsehide leather jackets. So it is beefy. This thing was like wearing a friggin' iron suit. Bought it for 150. This was not even my sale. This was the sold comp that I found at that time. There was no other jacket in this exact style listed. There were other ones from Lost World, but they were not in this style. The positioning of the zippers can matter when it comes to vintage clothing. I went home, not even home. I went back to the hotel that night. This was during the Orlando Craziness 70 seller meetup. I took this back to the hotel. I laid it on the bed. I took the hotel lamps and I took the photos with the white bed sheet as my background. I took the photos and we were hanging out in the hotel lobby at like 2 a.m. in the lobby. Everyone saw me list it. I hopped on the flight. I shipped everything back, but the jacket I took with me on the plane. That was my prized possession. I landed an hour after I landed. It sold for $950. Supply and demand. The supply was zero of this exact color in that exact style of jacket. Demand was going to be up there for it because I have proven track record. Somebody paid $850 for it, so I listed mine at $1,000. Took a $950 offer. It was like $925 and then 20 shipping, close to $950. That's the power in being consistent because the night before I was scrolling Facebook Marketplace and that jacket wasn't on there. First thing when I wake up in the morning, I do my little morning routine, water, workout, all that stuff. And then usually at the gym, I'm in between sets, man. I'm scrolling, I'm checking. That popped up that morning. Wasn't there the night before. Consistency is how you're going to win at this thing. Number two, always, and this was an Instagram post, so I put it right here. Number one, let people know you run an online distribution business. This jacket was, I believe, $20 at the time. I showed up to her place with $20 cash for this one jacket because it's going to sell for 200. And I asked the question, hey, do you happen to have any more jackets or clothing or shoes or electronics? I actually run an online business and this is what we do full time. And she's like, yeah, I'm actually going through my closets. And she literally like turned and there's a stack of other jackets. She's like, I was getting ready to list all these on Facebook and I didn't get to it yet. I'm like, tell you what, how much would you be willing to do if I just take the whole stack from you right now? She's like, $10 each and they're yours. Done. Gave her $180 total. Shot her Venmo, and all those jackets together are going to sell for like $500 or $600. Pretty sweet. And that's after fees and shipping, by the way. That's not like gross sales. So making a killing on those ones. That was from asking the question, do you have any more? And letting them know that you run an online distribution business. This is an example of using someone else's zip code. This was actually Andrew and Amanda's zip code. They hit me up on Instagram. They're like, hey, sure, why not? I found this Dymo for $75. And I think I even put the offer out. I did the messaging. I was like, hey, well, I think it was 65 we got them down to. And then I'm like, I can't pick it up, but I've got some friends that can. So then I connected them and I believe Andrew went and picked it up. And that'll sell for, 240 is on the high side. That'll sell for at least minimum 180. So not a bad little profit, right? Here's another example of not even my zip code. It was through Instagram. I used someone else's zip code. I found a TI Inspire CX2 for $10. Sells for $70 pre-owned all day. This is the kind of stuff that's literally out there. There are millions of items floating around Facebook Marketplace and people's driveways on the weekends for those who are willing to go hunt for them. You can't just open Facebook one time this week, like, well, I didn't find anything. I guess it sucks. That guy's full of BS. Or he's planting the items, I've been told. Got to be consistent. Questions on that so far? So now that you guys
There's
got
one,
the
there's
logistics-
one in the chat.
Oh, is there? Question. I look on Facebook Marketplace. Some of the items don't really have title with detail. How do you know it will sell on eBay? Can you find a listing from eBay from the Marketplace? Absolutely. There's this beautiful thing called Google Image Search or Google Lens. And if you don't know about this, I'll do it for you live because there's probably going to be times like that where people will just put in camera. They won't put in a model, nothing. You can upload that image, screenshot it, upload that image to Google, and it will scan the internet and find anything with that exact image, or not image, but the exact product. So you can find model numbers, brands, styles of anything that doesn't have it in the listing. Very easy to do. So now that you guys got the logistics, we got the grounds covered, you ready to find some stuff? I need some zip codes. Pop them in. Only give me your zip code if you're willing to travel at least 20 miles, meet in a public place, and you're willing to deal in shoes, clothing, electronics. Those are like the three main categories that we find. So if that works for you guys. And hopefully you enjoy my little slideshow presentation. I whipped that together earlier today.
Yeah, you did a great job with that.
This all lives rent free in my head all the time. And this is the first time I've ever dropped it onto a written form. So hopefully it was somewhat laid out in a way that made sense. All right, let's Facebook, shall we? All right. I always use my phone for this stuff because it's just easier to maneuver and do filters and stuff. But everyone always asks, what filters do you use? Zero. The only filter I will ever use is to filter out the shipping option because I don't care about the stuff that's shipping because a lot of them are scams. Facebook is full of scams, especially if you're looking up the electronics or higher end cameras. So, like a Canon G7X or a G9X, personal favorite camera to flip because I can buy them for 400 and sell them for 600 the same day. It's the easiest 100, 125 bucks you'll ever make. It's instant. And I've gotten them as low as $150, $200 before. So then you're making $200, $300 profits on one flip. It's pretty great. But I filter that stuff out because they're highly scammed, which we do not want to do. So first zip code, we've got 33161. Oh, this is the Miami one. I've never done Miami. You guys get to see the inner workings of this live. Miami is a beast to drive through, so I'm not gonna put 20 miles on there. I'm gonna put 10. Are you on the north side or the south side? I want to keep it kind of within
I'm on the north.
north side. Okay.
Yeah, like where you see the little red dot, I guess that's where I am.
Oh, perfect. Already got there.
Around there.
Okay. So what I am going to do is make sure we are on notifications, browse, settings. Nope. Did Facebook change it again? Again, I use my phone because it's way easier. Close all these. Usually there's a setting for, it was up in the top right hand side last time I did this on computer, setting to kick out the shipping ones. Oh, welcome to Facebook, right? They change it every day. Oh, well, we just got to make sure we pay attention to the bottom here. It's like Portland. It's because Portland area is where I'm from up there. I travel back and forth, so you're going to see Portland stuff up here quite a bit. But let's start looking. Boom, cameras right off the gate. Vintage cameras. What we're looking for, number one, is going to be a Canon AE1 program. Those sell for 150 plus all day. I've gotten them for 50 and under tons of times. I think I have 3 or 4 of them in the garage right now. And I'll just shout out random information that lives in my head as we go along this here. So I don't use necessarily all the time. I don't use keywords to search. I might search a brand, but I don't use a lot of keywords because this is an example. If I type in a Sony and then a specific model camera, this won't show up. Even though it's a Sony camera, they only put camera professional. So a lot of people put camera or calculator or t-shirt. They're not putting brands and stuff like that. So this is why my favorite method, oh crap. This
But
is why it's my favorite method to just scroll. And I only do it for 5 or 10 minutes. Yep.
I'm looking on my phone right now, and I don't see any of you listing. How did you get there?
It's because your algorithm is going to be drastically different than mine.
Oh.
Every Facebook is going to be different because it's feeding you what it thinks you want to see, and this one's going to feed what it thinks I want to see. So we're going to see drastically different things. So again, you're going to see vintage clothing. You might see a bunch of jeans, shoes, electronics. That's what a lot of my Facebook will be. As you click on more, like I talked about earlier, you have to go through and click on more listings to get it to feed you more of those types of items.
Okay.
So what I'm going to do is go through here. And again, I can do the scroll and not look everything up because I've looked up thousands of items. So I kind of have a ballpark value in my head of what some of these are worth. If you don't have any clue, it sucks to say, but you have to sit here and click on this listing, Google image. We'll do that right now because they don't have a, so it's a cyber shot, but we don't know which model. I'm going to take a screenshot, open up Google, click on this camera button. You can do this from your phone if you have the Google app. Open up the Google app and then click on the camera button. I'm going to upload the photo I just took. It's now going to pop out and find matches. So right here is a Poshmark. Sometimes they're doing a general broad search like this says Sony cameras, so it's not that exact model. This one is that exact model. So now I have an eBay listing already in front of me. Click through. This shows, is this new? Yeah, so brand new 400, which is high. But what I care about is grabbing the model number. And now I can search the model number. I prefer a gallery view. Condition, I don't care about the new ones. I care about the used ones because the price with a new electronic or camera versus a used is drastically different. So now we're on used Sonys. Right here are active listings. I don't really care about the active price. I care about what actually sold. On the left-hand side, as you scroll down, sold button lives right here. I have bugged eBay for about 8 years on getting it to the top somewhere. They don't listen. So it's on the left-hand side towards the bottom. If you're on your phone, on the right-hand side, there's filter, and then scroll down and you'll find the sold filter there. This shows us over the last 90 days, this is what it's defaulted to. Over the last 90 days, 268 of these have sold. So they're moving. That's great. And now we can start to get a number. Average sold price of 90. I also don't care about the international shipped ones. You can actually kick that out by going to the left side. We're going to item location, US only. So it's going to kick those out. I'm just looking for a rough idea what this is worth. A used one with the basic lens is worth about 90. This one sold for 68, 75 plus 12 shipping. So I'm going to say 90 bucks is a rough estimate. Now I have some data. I can come back here and see they're asking 150. We're not making money at that, so I'm not even going to bother with it. But I wanted to use that as an example of how to use Google image search so you can find out keywords and model numbers and do your search that way. So with that being said, let's find some stuff. But I bring that up to say that if you have no knowledge about any of this, you have to click through one by one and look up everything until you start to build a mental database or a spreadsheet. You can also keep a spreadsheet and go that way too. It's like currently I'm actually building out a pretty large spreadsheet of everything I've ever sold in my eBay career, all the model numbers, what they're worth, images. I'm putting all that on a shared spreadsheet. And that's something that is going to act like a mental database, but in a physical form, which is nice. So you're going to have to go through here and look up everything. I'm going to go through and find a category. So for example, on the desktop version, it's going to show you your main feed. So today's picks. If you scroll down, it's now going to branch out into a little bit more precise categories. So I'm going to go into here, which is electronics and computers. See all. So anything under that category, I'm going to see now. And if you guys have questions along the way, feel free to ask. And now I'm going to do my thing. I'm going to find some money. So this is an example of those old point and shoot cameras. If you ever find these cheap, you need to look them up. This guy knows what he has, but a lot of them are undervalued tremendously because people just think they're old and not worth much. This is that G7 I told you about. These G7s, there's a Mark 1, a Mark 2, and a Mark 3. Mark 3 is the newest model. Those Mark 2s and Mark 3s used can sell for $800-900. So if you can get a seller down for 400, sell for 800, easy money on those are my favorite ones to flip. All right, see if we can find some money. Miami, so the main cities throughout the US are the most difficult because the bigger the city, the higher prices typically are for everything, and that includes secondary market items like this. But sometimes we get some deals in the big cities. So like this one, we're going to open up. So this is used a few times, but still good. This is an Astro 10, and that's for a PlayStation. If you guys aren't familiar, blue is always going to be PlayStation, green will be Xbox, red will be Nintendo Switch. Again, this is just stuff, as you do this thousands of times, you can just build this all up in your mental database. So I'm going to type in Astro A10, PlayStation, and I want to see what the used ones are going for. So I don't even need to go to the sold listings on these because I can see currently there's ones listed for 20 bucks and free shipping. And here's where we could do, if I'm doing quick math, you can use that calculator, or I've always done it and I'm stuck in my ways. So I always just pull out my phone. So if I'm selling for 20 bucks minus 13% for our fees, minus shipping on something like this would probably be about $8. We're seeing $9.40 left. So unless you can buy that for $1, it's really not even worth flipping. And I tell people too, don't waste time with items less than 20 bucks, especially in the beginning. It's just not worth your time. All right, so we're good on that. These cameras, first one I'm looking for is that Canon, just so I can show you guys, because there's always vintage cameras everywhere. Canon AE1. Canon AE1s. These are probably the easiest to find in a lot of different places. I have found them in thrift stores. I found them in pawn shops. I found them on Facebook Marketplace, garage sales. I have found these pretty much everywhere. The cool part is that they're pretty quick sellers. So there's 3,900 listed. I'm going to go down to sold. There's 3,200 sold within 90 days. So we call that 100% sell-through rate. That means that 100% of every listing that was done in the last 90 days has sold. Pretty crazy. And you guys can see these are about 150 plus all day long. Unless you're selling just the body, some of them will go cheaper. The body only, if you don't know cameras, body only just means it doesn't have a lens. So you can sell just the body on something. But you can see 150 bucks, 180 bucks, 160. So just so you can get an eye for that, it's always easy to spot because you got this big Canon old school logo on top and then AE1 on the side. So when you see marketplace listings like this, we're looking for that Canon logo. A lot of these are going to be cheaper models, really not worth much. There might be some in there, but we would have to take time to sit here and pick through every single one. But hopefully we can find something in Miami. Let's check this guy out. So more so than camera bodies or camera lenses. Camera lenses can oftentimes sell for more than the camera body itself. All right, so we got pre-owned 125, 175. I should look at the focal length on that one, which is a 1.5. All right, so 165 is pretty high. So here's a good tip to point out. If it's been listed recently, like this one was listed today, that's a way less percentage of a chance we can get an offer in on that. If it's been listed for like 2 weeks, sellers typically will take a better offer. So something like this, could you get it for 100? Maybe, and flip it for 180, make 40 bucks profit. That is potential, but being that it was listed 7 hours ago, most likely won't take a lower offer, so we're not going to worry about that. And sometimes with these types of live sourcing, it's never about finding the item live. It's so that I can brain dump the methodology behind it so that when you go scroll, you can hopefully remember some of this stuff here.
How do you wean out the like say like a new seller or like a non-reputable seller, I guess you could say?
I haven't found a way Their filtering is very limited, especially here. I can't even find where the filters are.
Maybe I asked it wrong. Because you explained it in the other one of the other calls I was in with you on
Oh, okay,
basically
okay.
like how would you know whether to trust the seller or not?
Gotcha.
Kind of forget.
Thanks for bringing that up. So to know if actually we can probably find one. The most highly scammed model is going to be a G7X. So look at this right here. It's a power shot. That's a different one. So if you find a G7X that's too good to be true, which is what I'm trying to find, 250. Bingo. We already found one. Grainy photo. That's red flag. Or they're using stock photo. This is a $500 to $600 item used. So the fact that it's 250 is too good to be true. But red flag number one, it's too cheap. Number two is grainy photo or a stock photo. Number three is a lot of them will do this. They will copy all of the item specifics, usually off an Amazon listing or something like that. That's a red flag. Other red flag, joined in 2024 because his other accounts all got banned. And the last one is either a photo that looks like this or a blank profile. He locked his profile. These friends are probably bots. These scammer accounts will literally go buy followers and buy friends. But usually they'll have just a blank profile picture. So those are some of your red flags to pay attention to if the deal is too good to be true. Or it may all look legit until you message them and they're like, "Oh, I'm out of state right now. Can you Venmo me and I'll ship it to you?" Or Apple Pay. Never do that. Cash only unless you have met with them before, you know them, you trust them, etc. Or this one, $80. Oh, please be real. This would be so great. 2024, blank profile picture. I'm giving this item to the first person to congratulate me. Happy 10 year. Bro, no, not happening. This one, a Mark II should be an $800 camera. That is a copy paste from the same scammer with a different profile. Because it's never just multiple people. It's usually one or two people, different profiles, and they're just copying and pasting the exact same thing. I'm glad you brought that up because that's especially Miami is a big hub for a lot of scammy stuff that goes on. Same thing like Canon camera. This is not legit. Phone number. Let me guess. 2025 blank profile. Not hard to find those. It sucks because this is an amazing model of camera if you find legit ones. Usually the legit ones will be priced at like 600 and I'll send an offer of like 400 and then I'll resell it for 700 or 800 on the high end. Those are usually the numbers you'll see. So like this one is 630. This is probably legit. 2014. I don't love the blank profile picture. Could be legit because it is priced higher, but you never know. That's going to be a tough model to find in Miami. But if we want to filter down to just Canon, actually, no, let's go this method. These are easier to find. I've been flipping and making videos about flipping calculators since 2015, 16. It's never ending because what happens is you get 4 semesters in school per year, right? So you get once a quarter, calculators come up for sale and there's lots of supply and you can buy them for 20 bucks or under. And then you hold on to them for a minute. And then about a week, 2 weeks before school starts back up, you list them for 50, 60, 70, 80 bucks, depending on the model. And you can make, I mean, I've always told my wife, Trista, if there were ever a time where I needed to grind my face off and make money, I would hustle calculators full time, just in that every quarter cycle. You can even go to, I've heard of people that go to college campuses towards like the last week of school, and they'll post up flyers that say, "I buy calculators for 20 bucks." And they get phone calls or text messages like, "Hey, I got a calculator. I got a calculator. Thank you. 20 bucks. Sell it on eBay for 50 bucks. It's pretty crazy. All right. Calculators we can usually find in most cities. See if we can find a decent one. Tell me you are real. Nope. Scammers everywhere. Man, cities are so much harder because everyone prices at full retail every time. I've actually found better profits in the not small towns, but like the mid-sized towns. It's tough. So this is an example of if you're in a larger city, especially in this Miami area, you may have to be willing to go drive an hour out of the city into your next smaller areas, line up a bunch of pickups that way, because you're going to see a lot of high prices like this. This might be, nope. Thought that was a different model. And then the problem with Facebook, especially on the desktop, I notice it does it more, but the more we scroll down, the wider the range of the distance. You can see it's showing Orlando and which is obviously not Miami. So the more you scroll down, the more it's going to do that. That's why I usually don't scroll more than 5 or 10 minutes if I'm looking for certain things. Another great item, if you're not familiar, is toner. I've been also flipping toner since 2016. I just picked one up yesterday. I got to list that tonight. Tons of great toner flips you could do out there. And every toner is so different. So you have to look up the models of every single one until you get a good feel for it. I've never sold anything on Facebook Marketplace. So anyone that can see your listing can see your personal post. Yep. Yeah, Amanda, call that one. Yeah, unless you have a public profile. When you list an item on Marketplace too, um, I believe there's a toggle that will say make it visible to my friends. So you can even toggle that off and they won't even see Marketplace listings, stuff like that. But yeah, they don't intertwine like the personal posts and that kind of stuff.
So you just said you can toggle it so that your friends cannot see it?
Yes, I just listed gym equipment of my own just to get out of the garage a couple months ago. And that was one of the options that was on mine at least. And every Facebook account might be slightly different too. I've seen some Facebook accounts where it's like they'll send me screenshots of their view and it's completely different for some reason.
Have you? Oh yeah, you just said you've just done that one thing. You don't normally sell on Facebook Marketplace, right?
Not typically. I've sold maybe 30 items my entire career, just personal stuff. Every time we moved, we'd sell off stuff, warehouse equipment. But I believe, yeah, it would have been less than 2 months ago. I sold my squat rack, and that was one of the toggles was make this listing visible for my friends. All right, here we go. Oh, this isn't Miami, is it? That's not Miami. Oh, that's definitely not Miami. Facebook, what are you doing? That's a bummer with Facebook. You got to pay attention to, they just throw in these random cities sometimes. All right, if you guys want, looking at toner, this is almost exactly what I picked up yesterday. Mine was a 3-pack. So these 3 or 4-pack bundles usually go for really good money. So we're going to look this up. And this is the work that nobody online sees. So when people see me post like the Facebook Marketplace finds, like the killer ones, they don't see the hours that went behind the scenes like this. Just like if you guys are doing arbitrage, right? Nobody saw the hours and hours and hours that went behind your orange bars and your sales. They see the result, but they don't see the hours that goes into this thing. So here's that 4-pack sold for 175. He's at 250. So way too much on that front. All right. So now that it's been a minute, I'm going to go back to my main marketplace, hit refresh, because this will refresh with brand new stuff now. Ooh, what's this beautiful piece? So here's an example. I've never heard of this brand. It's when you get into clothing, especially vintage, it's a very unique colorway, very unique looking piece. This is what catches my eye. So first thing I'll do with a new brand is pop in the brand to eBay just as a general search, no exact matches. So I'm going to take some of these keywords out. No matches. Now I'll grab a screenshot. Go to Google. See if we can find this. So Looney Tunes, New York Jets, jacket. So either a super rare piece or just like a cheap random custom something that somebody did. Not going to worry about that for tonight. Man, I haven't seen one of these in a hot minute. These are the old school, like 1995 Power Ranger plush. This is so funny because I picked up a bin of Rangers in Orlando when I was over there. Some of these Rangers can go for 10 to 12 bucks each. So when you look at getting a whole bin like this, usually pretty good. The only thing I'm going to say is I would not worry about this listing because when they say this individually priced, they usually know what they have. So they're going to nickel and dime every single little one. So I honestly don't even waste much time with these listings anymore. What you want are the people who have no clue what they have. 4 bags of clothing for 80 bucks. You want the ones that don't know what they have. And they're like, sure, take it all for 20 bucks. That's what you want. All right, so we got a pair of Carhartt pants right here. I want to see if I can find this little graphic right here. Screenshot. People are like, what do you do in your free time? This. I would be doing this with or without the camera on right now, to be brutally honest. So it's like, that's why I love doing this stuff. It's the treasure hunt. All right, so we got a Detroit. I'm just curious to see if I can find that exact logo somewhere. Being that I see a pair of, I believe Carhartt is what that should be. Those are Carhartt pants, which are they can be anywhere from 20 to 30 bucks. I'm going to say this is worth messaging about and ask them if they can provide more photos of what is in these bags. And you can literally screenshot and Google image search all the individual items. There might be a couple pieces in here worth 40, 50 bucks. If you get a couple of those and you get a couple of those pieces to pay for the whole lot of 80, and I would not pay 80, I would offer 40 or 50, especially because it's been listed for a day. They might just want to start moving it pretty soon. Just be like, hey, if no other offers come in, which is the phrasing I always use, if no other offers come in, I could do 40 bucks. They might come back and be like, can you do 60? But if you're able to make a couple $100 on this whole thing, if that's something you want to venture into, I'm going to put the link in the chat so you can click on that, go through, do that message so you can get some more photos out of it. But I'd be very curious to see what else is in here. And that's the nature of the game right there. You're looking for interesting stuff or stuff that you already know is valuable. Here's another toner. So you guys can see how quickly, like I hit refresh and now we got all new stuff to go through. And you can see how it's starting to feed me a little bit more toner. A little bit of vintage clothing was already in there. So this one may possibly be a storefront because they gave some hours and an address. Storefronts can be great. I just made a connection like 3 days ago. I found on Facebook Marketplace 405 hats, and I got them for $2 each. Average sale price will be about 15 plus the buyer will pay shipping. So I'm going to net quite a bit of money on that deal, but it wasn't the deal that made that good. It was the fact that when I showed up, it's a storefront, a thrift store, if you will. This guy does storage unit buyouts. He doesn't deal with clothing and shoes, so he's willing to get rid of it cheap. I'm like, you don't even need to put it out on the floor. Shoot me pictures when you do the storage unit. I'll come pick it up from the unit. So now we've got a working relationship that can happen there. That is more important than anything that we'll find just on the deal itself. Oh, I just copied the wrong thing. I want 508X is our model on here. All right. Even if we don't find anything specifically on this call, does this help clear up kind of how I've been able to track stuff down? That was a black
Yes.
one. All right, cool. All right, so 508X. On the left side, I'm going to filter down to just black. I don't care about these multi quantities. I can see this one open box sold for 80. This one brand new sold for 150. This sold for 160. Sold for 150. I can safely say this is worth 150 bucks. They have it listed for 80. It's not much, but we do have a margin here already. What we are going to do is I'm going to put this link in the chat. See, look at that. We did find something. I'm going to put that link in the chat. You're going to send them a message that literally would say this. This is if you guys want a script, this is exactly how I send every single message. I either say, hey there, or even better than that, put their name in it. So I'm going to say, hey, Lily, if no other offers come in, I can do $50 and pick up tomorrow. I'm going to dissect why I do it that way because I have data behind all of this. There's a scientific reason, if you will, why I do it that way. One is these guys get barraged, bombarded with, hi, is this available? Or will you do 50? All day. That's what they're dealing with is people messaging like that. We're getting personable by saying, hey, Lily, use their name. Hey, Lily, if no other offers come in, dissect that. I'm saying take the other offers, go for it. But if they don't come in, I can do X. So that is just a respectful way to put out an offer without just being blunt. You get the ones, if you've ever listed anything on Facebook, you get the messages with nothing but their offer and a question mark. 50? Or even without the question mark too, they'll just put 50. It's annoying, right? So these guys are getting hit up with, hi, is this available all day long or just random offers? So just be respectful, use their first name, get that personal level. And I will pick up tomorrow. Always let them know when you can pick up. I have had deals where I was not the best offer, but because I was the fastest willing to pick up, she gave the deal to me. She had a deal that was 40 bucks. She had an offer for 40 bucks more than my offer, but she said they can't come till tomorrow. You said you can come today, so I'll give it to you. Pretty sweet. So that's my phrasing that I will always use there. Now that I think about it, hold up. Did I have... Oh my goodness. This is where ADHD comes in. Uno momento, por favor. I'm going to make a new slide real quick that's on that same conversation of phrasing. I could swear I made a slide on actual conversations I've had. I swear that was not just my ADHD. I swear that disappeared. So real quick, I want to grab these to show you. I'm assuming you guys can see this.
Yes.
All right. And one more. There we go. All right. These are real conversations I've had in the last couple weeks. Number one, the jacket. I had two jacket ones. So I had the one where I showed up in person, the one jacket she was like 18 units or 17 units. It was just under 20. This was another one who listed up her storage unit and she had a pair of shoes. And then I found out she had jackets. I said, how many jackets do you have? Beautiful question. At least 20 of them or so. She had like 25 of them. All leather and suede. I also have a black one. And then I said, I run, again, being upfront and transparent, not hiding the fact I'm going to resell. I run an online distribution business full time for the last 9 years. I put that in there for me because it builds credibility. I'm not just a side hustler. I haven't been doing this for a month. This is my full-time gig and always looking for great pieces for our customers. Would you be interested in selling them all? Actually, I would. I don't need them. They're all men's if you give me a fair price and you can get all of them. I think we worked out like 15 bucks a piece or something like that. Again, relationships. This guy, Chris, lives 15 minutes from me. Is anyone familiar with the brand Flint and Tinder? Check this out. I have never heard of this brand until like 4 months ago. I'm scrolling Marketplace and I found, let's do new. I found this jacket, this quilted waxed jacket, $200 retail. Flint and Tinder makes high-end brand stuff. I found this jacket. I offered him $100. He said, somebody just picked it up, but I have 2 more. And if you get them both, I can give them to you for 40 each. Okay. I was willing to pay 100. I show up, shake hands, do the deal. I could have walked away. Thank you very much. I'll go make some money. What question did I ask? Do you have any more stuff for sale? I do shoes, clothing. This is my full-time gig. And he's like, oh, you should have been here last weekend. I had a garage sale with a rack full of these jackets. I'm like, excuse me? And then I'm like, is this personal collection you're getting rid of or what's the story on it? And he's like, I work for Flint and Tinder and we're allowed to take the donation box stuff and and take it home and do whatever we want. So once a quarter, I now get a text message from Mr. Chris. Interested in any more items? Bet your ass I am. I pay 40 bucks a unit. It's free inventory for him. I pay 40 bucks a unit and I have made thousands of dollars the last 3 months with this guy. Pretty crazy. That's from relationship building that came from Facebook Marketplace. You guys can see why I live and preach this stuff nowadays. Third conversation. This is my favorite when they decline your offer and then they come back and accept it. Hey, Robert, this was the toner from yesterday. Hey, Robert, if no other offers come in, I could do 60 bucks. Okay, I'll let you know, but you can have it for $80 now. Stand ground? No worries. 60 would be my budget, but if that works for you later on, just let me know. Okay, will do. Thanks. That was at 1:30. 6 hours later at 7 o'clock, I'll do 60. When can you pick it up? That was a $250 toner set. I want to show that because these are real conversations that I've had literally recently. So with toner, now you guys can see how I framework some of these things here. So make sure you click on that listing, send him a message. There it is. Or her, I'm sorry, Lily. Send Lily a message. Hey, Lily, if no other offers come in, I would offer 50 on something like this. We know it sells for 150, so 50 to 150 is beautiful, right? And if you guys want the numbers, you can do $150 sell price. Let's lowball. Let's do it. Let's say you sold it for 130 minus 13% for our fees, minus a toner on something like this from Miami, worst case scenario, going up to Washington or Cali. That might cost you like 15 bucks. Throw in a poly mailer, you're good to go. That leaves us $98. If you got this for 50, you just made a $48 profit. One flip. How many toothpaste or deodorant do you have to flip on Amazon to make 50 bucks profit, right? A few. That's why I love this game, because you can make big profits on just single flips. You only have to do, imagine if you did one of these flips per day, just one a day, 30 a month. Pretty wild, the potential that you can build out here. Then next level, if you guys want inside sneak peek into what I'm about to do, I've not.
But I'm
Yeah,
sorry, I have
go
a
for it.
question. When you list on eBay,
Mhm.
do you offer free shipping and include the price, or you charge for shipping? I know you talked about it before. I don't
Yeah,
know.
we charge a flat $5.99 for most items, unless they're big and bulky, then I'll charge 20 bucks if needed. I personally, if you're brand new to eBay, I would recommend free shipping because it looks better to the customer, just to kind of build up your feedback on your account. At some point, I definitely recommend do paid shipping though. There's even a method where you can do calculated shipping, which is when you create the listing, input the dimensions of this item, and then hit calculated shipping. And eBay is going to calculate to the buyer based on their location and make them pay that. And then you just go and box it up from there. But I would definitely recommend just to build up your feedback and get used to it. I would do some free shipping on an item like this where you're making good money. And the math I just did was for $15 shipping. It may be cheaper than that. It may only be $8 or $9 with Ground Advantage, like I showed earlier. So it can work both ways. There's plenty of large sellers that do free shipping. They just work it into the price. So for example, you might have $20 plus $10 shipping, which I call a $30 sale. Or you can have $30 free shipping. It works both ways. It's trying out what's going to work out best for you. But that could be a sweet flip though. If you get that for $50, even 60, you're still going to make at least a $40 profit on that one. And that was on the low side because I only said selling it for 130. If you sold it for 150, which shows history, now you're looking at a $70 profit. Not too bad for a quick pickup, right? The better part is if I know that I'm picking this up in Miami Springs, now I can filter my marketplace to Miami Springs. What else is in that same 2-mile radius? Because imagine now you go to the same parking lot and schedule out 4 pickups back to back, 10 minutes apart from each other. I've done that many times and it's amazing because you'll sit there, do your pickup in the parking lot. Cool. Thank you. Hey, by any chance, do you have anything else for sale? If not, anytime in the future, just let me know. I buy shoes, electronics, clothing, etc. Bye-bye. Sit there, scroll on your phone, and then 10 minutes later, someone else shows up. It's pretty sweet to watch happen.
Join the generational wealth. So create your life.
All right, cool. We got a
Thank you.
Of course, my pleasure. Yeah, more so than like it's fun to find stuff for people, but more so it's you have to see the inner workings of how things are being found and the methodology behind it. Even down to like how I phrase my sentences is a very specific way for that reason because I've tried all the different methods. I've tried just throwing out the offer with a question mark and, never really stuck. I found way more success by being personable by saying, "Hey," and then first name. If no other offers come in, I can do XYZ and I can pick up today, tomorrow. Always give them a time frame because most of the time they're like, well, they can pick up today. I'm tired of looking at it. Sure, I'll do it. It's pretty cool when that happens. All right. Are you guys completely zombied out or you want me to run another zip code? That's completely up to you guys. I literally can do this all day.
Couple, 2 questions in the chat.
Oh, let me scroll down. That was scrolled up for some reason.
Yeah.
There we
I
go.
saw that too.
Can you say that again, how you're filtering location area? Absolutely. Yeah. So if you're on your phone, way easier to do on your phone. I do 100% of my stuff on my phone. It's just way better laid out. So top left side, come on camera. There we go. So you see on that, or it might be on your right-hand side. You click on the little toggle. That's how you're going to change your location. It's nice on the phone because you can zoom that circle, the radius, you can zoom in and out. So you can really custom set it. This desktop version doesn't let you do that too much. If you're on here, it's right here on location. And then did we have another zip code in there? Let me scroll back up real quick. Benito. Is that the Vegas one? I know he's in Vegas right now. Yep, it is. All
Yeah,
right,
it is.
Ooh, so there's a maybe I can find which location was. There's a Goodwill in Henderson right here that Tristan and I did really good out of. When we were moving from Oregon, we did it all in a U-Haul. So we drove right through there and stayed in Henderson. We demolished a Goodwill out there. So if you go check out those locations, they're pretty good. All right, Las Vegas. I haven't done Vegas in a while. I'm actually coming out to Vegas in March, so I'm going to do an episode of me. My goal is always 1,000 profit after expenses, hotel, all of it. So we'll see what we can find. All right, hats, $5. What do we got here? I'm leaning pretty heavily into the hat market lately. They're so easy to photo, so easy to ship. There's no measurements like with clothing, very fast and easy. So with hats, I usually pay $3 or under, and I usually sell them between 15 and 20. So if you have a $3 hat, you price it at 15 after fees and shipping, you're usually netting about $6.
What
And if you
about being used? It
yeah,
can get kind of
all,
sweaty.
nope, all used. If they're nasty, use Borax and you soak them overnight and then scrub them down real quick, hose them off, and then let them sit out in the sun or toss them in the dryer for just a second. You don't want to fully dry, it'll shrink. But we've done plenty of soaking. I just had to soak one the other day because it's actually a Grand Theft Auto 5, and it's got Los Santos as the spell out, and it's worth 70 if it's clean. This thing was disgusting. So I can only sell it for like 25. So I soaked it, scrubbed it, and now I can sell it full price. So these sports ones are pretty good. These Raptors, the Suns, the NBA Finals one may actually do pretty well too. Jaguars or no, Panthers, right? Again, I
I
know.
think we might have a different screen. Are you on two screens?
Oh, you know what? This opened up a new tab. Hold on.
I
Is that
think.
better? Okay.
Yeah, there you go. Yep, there you
Yeah,
go.
that opened up a new tab. So sports hats, they're up and down just like with any sports stuff. But he said $5. I mean, I don't even have to look these up right now. I can tell you. All right, Benito. There's your first marketplace listing. I would say, hey Andrew, if no other offers come in. So he's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So he's got 12 hats. So I would just put out an offer. At $3 each is $36. I would say, hey Andrew, if no other offers come in, I could do $36 and pick up tomorrow. And hopefully you can get those. Because again, especially because I know you're traveling. Traveling, you literally can throw these in a box and ship it back home for a few bucks. It's not expensive. I can't wait to get over to Las Vegas now.
Hey, so if I pick those up, would you do a Google Lens on them and see what the comps were on eBay, or would you just flip the whole bulk lot back on Facebook Marketplace?
You could do it either way. Personally, I just list it back all on eBay, just one at a time, because you can get roughly $15 for used sports hats, unless there's some like specific year that was a collab. Like there's different variations with it, but in general, you can always count on about 15, give or take, of course. All right, I'm very curious on the electronics market in Vegas. It's probably been a year and a half, 2 years since I've looked. Oh, what is this? Right out of the gate, 85A. Check this out. Oh, price came down on these. These are a popular one. You can, and it changes to like 25 plus 20 shipping. So I'm going to consider that a $45 sale. This one sold for 50, 45, 50. So this is a $50 cartridge. It's got listed for 30. Here's what we're going to do is make sure it's sealed. I can't tell you how many times it looks sealed and then I go to pick it up and it's got an open flap. So now I have to list it as open box, which is fine. You don't make as much, but I always confirm like, hey, just confirming it hasn't been opened. But it's been listed for 4 weeks. This is beautiful. Listed for 4 weeks. He crossed out price means that he dropped the price from 60 to 30, which means he wants to move it. So here's what it's going to do is you're not going to pay 30.
Does it always do that crossing out if you drop the price?
From what I've seen, most of the time it should. Could it not? Maybe. Oh, Jeff pointed out those were new hats. I did not even pay attention to that. Are we still on that? No. Hold on, real quick. No, I don't want to do the downloads folder. What are you doing? All right, so it looks like we got used like new. That's a good thing to point out here, just because they have the tags on them still, these stickers. Most of the time they are going to be used. So I would not list these as new just because the stickers are on there, because most people that collect these styles of hats, they have worn them several times. And for some reason, the collector's market with hats, they like the stickers to stay on there. So that's a really good point to bring up. And I've only had to learn that the hard way because I've had complaints when I used to list hats as new and they're like, bro, it's got sweat stains in it. So yeah, always pay attention right here. If this did say new, these bills should be mostly flat. For most of these bigger brands, the bills will be pretty flat. They've been bent typically because they've been worn. Some of them come pre-bent like that, but for the most part, for hats, unless they're like brand new with the tags on them, I stay away from listing them as new. All right, now for this guy. So now you guys can see the difference between somewhere like Miami, which is going to be way higher price on their stuff, versus something like Vegas, where we're finding a lot more opportunity here. So Benito, you're going to message that link I just sent there. Say, hey, David, if no other offers come in, I could do 15 and pick up tomorrow. I guess you're on Pacific time, right? It's early enough you might be able to pick up tonight if you want to. I always forget sometimes, like I'm in Central Time Zone. My brain still lives on the West Coast sometimes. All right. Toner. That's a good one. Because you buy for 15, sell for 50, make like 20, 25 bucks profit.
Now, what do you do for return settings typically?
I personally started, I've done paid returns, meaning that the buyer would pay for the return for the last like 3 years. I am chasing down. So you have top rated seller, which is one seller level to get to. And then you have top rated plus, which is like the ultimate. So because I'm going to chase the top rated plus, and I've got this crazy thing in my mind, like I want to be the best eBay seller that I can possibly be. So I'm now offering free returns. I've seen zero impact from it though. Because the thing too is like with any of the platforms, especially Amazon, Walmart too, just like those, eBay takes care of the customer. So if a customer really wants to return it and you have no returns on, they're going to open up a case and it's a whole thing, and then they're going to return it anyways. I'd rather just not fight over something like that. So I start doing free returns again.
Okay. I've been doing 30 days for a return, buyer pays return shipping.
Yep. And that's what we ran, the exact same thing for like the last 3 years.
Okay.
I was curious too. I'm like, if I turn on free returns now, 30 days, does it make an impact? I've seen no extra returns. Our whole storefront is like 3 or 4% for returns, which we're in clothing. So it's a higher percentage than I ever had with electronic stuff.
Okay.
I want to make sure.
I did have seller pays return shipping.
Mhm.
I was doing that because I wanted to like see if it would help me get to the top rated seller faster. Because
Yeah,
I don't know all the metrics, but I know that all that little stuff I know eBay cares about.
Yeah, it's all the tiny little details. I want to make sure I hit all these questions here. Oh, good one. How are you repricing and with that kind of volume? Flipped a lot of used games. So repricing. Unfortunately, there's no repricer that will, because eBay's API is shut down, so there's no softwares. There's a couple softwares that can do some cross-listing stuff, but there's no repricing, which means every Sunday night, I do a couple things for repricing. One is you can run a markdown sale. They switched the terminology to now stored discount. So you can run a discount and you can select what type of items specifically or a category. You can select the items you want to run a sale on. Every Friday through Sunday, I run 20% off any inventory that's older than 60 days. And then once every like 4 to 6 weeks, I'll run a sale that is 40% off anything older than 90 days. So I kind of have this little rotation for my pricing. But as far as physically repricing, I don't have a schedule I follow. It's every couple weeks. I'll look at all the inventory that I listed and I'll go through and kind of just spot check some fresh comps because maybe the market came down a little bit, which is why it hasn't moved. And so I'll just manually go through and cross check some stuff that way and reprice. But yeah, the markdown or the store discount is probably the best way you can handle that stuff. Is just I'm on a rotation. I do it every single weekend. Seems to kick off some sales for 20% off all the older stuff. And I feel like that helps too, because I feel like running a markdown sale brings in fresh eyeballs because they come in to see the discounted item, but they're like, "Ooh, what else do they have?" And they come and look at your other listings. So that's why I like to do that every weekend. As far as used games, I don't do nearly as many as I used to. I used to actually buy lots off eBay and I would piece them out one by one back on eBay. Because you can buy a lot of video games for like $200, but then you can resell them individually for like 600 or 700 if you get the right ones. I don't know if that's still a hustle that can work. Somebody go try it. This was years ago, but I used to do that quite a bit. I want to find a like friggin' crazy good high-end flip here. It's funny because every time I've ever done these, I usually find at least one really good one. Because we found Brian those they weren't cameras. What were they? It was like 4 of them, right?
They were cameras.
Were they cameras? Okay, it was like the guy had 4 of them. It was like an $800 deal. It was crazy. Well, this is the nature of the game. You guys can see we're in electronics. So what's going to happen is this I'm actually curious on. But what's going to happen is when I click back out and then hit refresh, it should start feeding me more electronics now. And every time you click on something, it's going to do that. See, like hats. I just clicked on hats. It's going to show me more hats. Not selling individually. Oh, we got turtles. I'm always looking at turtles. All right. We got a 1.8 Sony. Let's grab this one. All right. We'll cross check a couple more. And then we're going to call that a night. If that works for you guys. You guys feel like you got enough value out of this one?
Oh yeah.
You guys got a little bit of everything.
Tons of value. Are you kidding me? There's
Right.
tons.
And I love doing these live sourcing sessions. I do them over in the our Discord quite often, just because I love doing this. I even kicked around the idea of I'm like, I literally can start a paid service. I can get a virtual assistant team involved to like do the sourcing in different zip code. Like there's a whole service behind this where it's like, hey, good morning. Here's a list of 10 items in your zip code. Go. I've got way too much on my plate right now. I don't need more. And I feel like that would become a job. I love to do this because I love to do this. I don't want it to become a job. All right, we're looking at 175 on that one, which is too much. All right, turtles. Nope, those are all newer. If you find the vintage turtles, some of them are worth good money. Look at this. Some of you, your minds will get blown because you don't know. TMNT is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. That's what most eBayers will use in their title. Watch this. We're going to go filtered by highest first sold comps. $7,000, $5,000. Welcome to one of my niches that I love is vintage. Ooh, check this out. Even better, because that's all like high-end graded stuff. Watch this, used. If you guys ever see this guy, scratch, couple grand, used. He sold because he's got his original accessories here. Without any accessories, if you found that in a bin at a garage sale, this is not a made-up price. This is not money laundering. These are real sales. $1,700. I told you someone's going to be like, holy crap.
That's crazy.
This is why I love to do this stuff, because I've got 9 years of this randomness in my head, and I can brain dump it on here. And now it opened up a door that you may not have ever looked in. So if you're looking at bins at yard sales or thrift stores of this kind of stuff, there's another one that they took an offer, but it sold for roughly about $1,000. These are not one-off rare sales. These happen often. $950 for Mr. Scratch. Ooh, here's one. Tyranno Shredder, 1997. Do you know why I love to see this flip? Because I also sold this exact same one for $600. I got it for $100. These are real life examples, folks. This is not theory. I sold this exact one. Mine did not have 2 of the weapons, which is why I took a $600 offer. He had the weapons, $900 used. Wild. Dude, we didn't even go into the toys section. Like, that's a different call, man. Vintage toys, that's a whole brain dump we could do. Oh, is that a custom job? I don't think I've ever seen a TI-84 in
Does,
this car.
does handling time, does that matter for sales?
For sure. I switched. So we've always done 1 day handling time, which means if you buy it today, we ship it out tomorrow. I have. Oh, thank you, Brian. So if you guys are interested in the Sellers Network, where I do a lot of this type of live call stuff, I'm actually live every Sunday. Brian's in my Sunday call. We start kind of like an accountability group now. So we have a specific framework we put together on Sunday calls. We have Ryan Roots hosting eBay calls on Mondays. And then we have Sarah, who you guys saw earlier. Sarah's hosting a UGC/Walmart call on Wednesdays. But if you guys are interested, and enjoy for some reason my brain dumping, then you're more than happy to hop over there too. And I spend as much time as I can in other groups. So if you guys want me back on more episodes, you just say the word. I'm more than happy to.
We would love you.
Appreciate that.
I'm
Yeah,
happy to have someone talk about eBay. Like,
dude, I
I feel
love
like
this.
it's like kind of feels rare, you know?
It does. It does.
Everyone's talking about Amazon and Walmart. It's like,
For
is
sure.
everyone sleeping on eBay or?
Oh, they are, because I'm out there getting all the deals. Oh, this
And you're
is
talking like 50 plus ROI on stuff.
oh, minimum. I don't touch anything in eBay anymore unless I double my money. Minimum. Unless it's a high ticket item. So like the G7X camera, I'm willing to spend 400 to the same day sell it for 6 or 650. So that's less than my traditional ROI would be, but it's a bigger profit right up front. That kind of stuff I'm good with. But yeah, the eBay world, man, it's at least a 50% margin. ROI can be 2 and 3x easy. All right, that must be some like weird colorway that they did on that. Yeah, no, yeah. Anytime you guys want to just like, hey, you want to hop on for a couple hours and do some random talk about eBay, I'm more than happy to.
Hey, another thing to keep in mind is I do almost nothing but new product on eBay.
Nice, nice.
And so I know this is a lot of thrifting and Goodwill and so forth, but
Mhm.
you do RA on
Oh yeah,
new product. There's no ungating. There's nothing. You can sell whatever
yep.
you want, basically. No medical devices. You know, you got to have EPA numbers on a lot of stuff, that type of thing. But you know, you can sell whatever you want, basically.
Yeah. It's the Wild West still. It's crazy. And yeah, we didn't even touch like if you guys want to do a future episode too of online arbitrage, retail arbitrage on eBay. I showed you guys that car set that was out of Ross. That's retail arbitrage. There was no listing at the time on Walmart and Amazon. And I'm like, bet it's on eBay. And sure enough, it was. The cool part too is it shows you pricing and how I do pricing. I bought it for 17 bucks. So cheap. The listed prices were like 125 to 140. So an eBayer, typically a newbie is going to come on there and be like, oh, I'm going to list it for 142 because they are. Turn and burn your cash. That's why I was like, I took $100 offer that somebody sent out. I'm like, sure, I listed for 120. They sent out 100. And I could have been like, no, it's worth 120, 130, 140. I'm here to make money, which means if I get a decent offer and I'm making profit on it and I can reinvest that now, hell yeah. Give me all the offers. Yeah, there's a whole model behind people that do just arbitrage, brand new product to eBay, whole arbitrage. And like you said, Andrew, it's slept on. That's why I've been on such an eBay kick lately. I'm not talking about Walmart. I'm not talking about Amazon because I'm on an eBay kick. I found a platform where it's like I'm putting some focus on it and it's working and I love it. And that I've learned as an entrepreneur too. You guys probably seen this where your mind is going to work in phases. Like right now, I'm very much in a in-depth eBay phase because it's working. It's making great money. It's the best margin I can make versus the other platforms. I've got plenty of access to inventory, so why not? But in 3 months, the phase might change a bit, right? I'm going to start testing out some UGC, some Amazon influencer program stuff that might take off, and then my phase might switch a little bit, right? That's rule number one with being an entrepreneur is you kind of got to chase where the best time spent is going to be for you. And that's
Want to
stuff.
pop in the sorry.
Yeah. No, you're fine. I was just going to say, I wish I can go back and not waste time for several years. focusing
Hmm.
so much on such small profit stuff.
Benito just said he said he'd take 15. Is that a good deal?
Orange
hat.
one. Is that for the was that for the calculator?
Oh, Calvin, I'm sorry. I'm lost.
15. I'd take it. It's a unique colorway, even if it's I didn't find the exact one. We didn't look too much into it, but the model of that it was, I don't think I should. Oh, you must have been trailing along and found it. Yeah, it's worth a 15. I'd say minimum you could sell it for 40, especially once school season starts to pop back in. I'd say go for it.
Now, have you ever bought from Alibaba and flipped stuff on eBay?
No, but it's on my to-do list.
Yeah, there is. I'm on Alibaba like every day because there's so
Nice.
much stuff that there's so much potential there. If
There
you can buy
is.
like a large lot of something and then you just sell each individual thing, it's just like
Yeah.
insane.
And
For
especially because
example, like I'm always looking into like the generic video game accessories, like the controllers and
yeah,
stuff.
yeah,
And just because it doesn't say Nintendo, people are still going to buy it, even though it's third party. And if
it's
you get a
true.
sweet price, you can. I feel like you can flip it fast.
Yeah. Yeah. And the
I'm
cool
always
part
looking into
too,
stuff like that.
yeah, no, I've spent my fair amount of time looking at it. I just never pulled the trigger on anything, but I know some people are doing pretty well with it because it's not expensive stuff. You know, you're buying it for like $1, selling it for 12, but you're pocketing $5 or $6 at the end of the day, and it's something you can just replenish over and over. I've always want to get a couple good SKUs in the store that way too. But the beautiful part with Alibaba is they're usually one step ahead of the game is where they are. So they're usually one step ahead of the game where they already know what's new and trending on TikTok and all that stuff. And they're already promoting like the next thing they might think take off. So if you get a hold of that stuff first and you're one of the first eBay listings for a little trinket, I mean, you can make a killing on some of that stuff. That's where I'm like, there's so much opportunity in all of this. And there's too many ways to source. You can't keep up with all of it.
Yeah, like or for example, like when the next iPhone drops, they're already making the cell phone cases, so you can get
Oh,
them
for
for
sure.
10 cents a piece, flip them for $10, and do that over and over again. Because
Yeah.
everyone's gonna be looking for a case maybe before they even bought the iPhone itself.
Oh yeah. And they're usually out months ahead of time before the phone ever comes out. And people are already buying them. They're already pre-planning. Because I hate when I get a new phone and I'm like, crap, I forgot to order a case. Now I have to bare bone the thing. Yeah, so it always helps out. Dinner? Oh, sweet. Kids got home. They're like, we got panda. Ooh, not for 150, but throw me an offer. Some of them have the tags, they're all brand new, maybe worn once. Here's an example of their brand new is not going to be a platform brand new because they say brand new, maybe worn once. If it's even worn once, that is not brand new. I don't care who tells you otherwise. But I mean, we'll just throw this one in there. Don't pay 150. That's too much. But these are going to be solid hats because if we look at these, let's take the good old Seahawks. So if we look at these, find this exact Seahawks hat. There's one. Again, that's why I try to get my hats for under $5 if I can, if they're really good hats like this one and they're great condition. So like new with tags or new without tags would be similar to the worn once. I still wouldn't do new without tags. I would do used and then a condition note, which is what this is. It's a condition note. You can put worn once, mint condition. You can use different terms like that. But if I know that this would sell, and let's actually do this. It's a 2017. One step further. What's the real numbers? I hate theories. I hate when people are shouting out random stuff. Like, let's look at the real data. This sold for 17 plus 6 shipping. So if you got that for under $5, you're doubling money. That's the kind of ball game I'm going to play with these type of hats. And that's just that exact model. Of course, you could look at similar ones, see what they're going for as well. Whether or not you can get these for $5 or under, I don't know. Depends how much he wants to move them. But Benito, there you go. Another one. Man, I can't wait to go to Vegas. I'm going to clobber.
I have a
Right.
question. When something's not moving like as you expected, what's your go-to? Do you look at your price first? Maybe is it your photos? Like maybe a little bit of everything? You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
usually there's a reason why, maybe.
for sure. And there's always a reason why. It's a combination. So the three big ones are photo, title, price. There's account metrics that might play a small role because if your account metrics are not great, eBay is probably not showing it in front of viewers as much. So then we're going to look at, okay, is there anything account wise going on the back end? So go look at your account health. They're going to tell you what your metrics are. And if there's any cases that were open against you that weren't taken care of, they'll give you those data points. So I'm going to look at that first, make sure the account is good. If the account is good, then I'm going to look at my price is the first one. I'm at a point where I don't list it unless I make sure my photos are damn good to the point where I can't do a better one. So I know it's probably not going to be my photo because I do the best I possibly can currently. Number two behind that is going to be the title. Is it my keywords? Maybe I put the word Nike behind something else when it should be at the very front. It's because when you're copying other people's listings, it's easy to miss those keywords. So I look at the keywords, make sure they're structured correctly. Most of the time, it's probably going to be the price. Market probably came down just a tad, and you're maybe $2 price too high because a lot of people do filter lowest or the cheapest price first. So if you're $2 too high, you might be on the bottom of page one. But if you change your price down by 3, you might come back up to the first spot. And then I'm going to look at promoted. If I've been doing, so like I am going to do this test where I've been doing 7%, but if I do 10%, is some of my older stuff going to move without any other changes? The other thing that I would recommend doing, which works out phenomenally for me, and lots of other people like Ryan Roots talks about this all the time. If you have inventory that's been listed for at least 60 days and it's just not budging, you've changed the price, you've done all the things, it might just be what we call a dead listing where eBay's just not pushing it out no matter what. So we're going to end listing, go into your ended listing, which is basically a folder of all your ended stuff. You're not going to hit relist because that's relisting the exact same listing. We're going to click on the drop down and hit sell similar. It's going to now make a brand new listing. It's going to copy the exact same photos that were on there, the same title, the same data, the same everything. It's all the same listing per se, but in eBay's world, it's a brand new fresh listing. And eBay's been proven to put fresh listings above the older ones. So that's kind of my step by step on the things I would be checking on.
That's good to know because I just relisted something and maybe that's gonna hurt me potentially.
Yeah,
But if that does, I'm gonna do what you did, unless I should just do it right now.
I would just go do it right now. Why not? Watch
Yeah.
it sell tomorrow. Watch it sell tomorrow. That would be awesome.
Yeah, I'm gonna do that.
Cool. Yeah, well, hopefully you guys got some value out of that. Like I said, I love doing this stuff. I don't need to get paid to talk on calls. I don't take payment for guest speaking stuff. I genuinely love this community. I took 3 years away from the community stuff, away from YouTube, because you guys know this. When you build a prep center, it takes up all your free time. And I made the mistake of not staying plugged in. So I was away from the community for so long and away from selling myself that I didn't realize how much I truly missed it. So I'm pumped to be back. If you guys ever want to brain dump or hop on Facebook Marketplace or do eBay stuff, I'm more than happy to.
We're ending this call here. Can I get a thumbs up for a 3-hour and 15-minute video or a call?
And those who survived.
Oh, shit, I can't do it. There we go.
But no, I do seriously. I know that you guys appreciate the time I spent here, but I also appreciate you guys because I know this took time away from your families late at night, took away time from your business. You invested just as much time as I did into this. So I also appreciate you guys being here too.
Appreciate it.
Of course. Yeah. And anything you guys need, you let me know. You guys, all three of you put together an awesome group, a great community here. So I'm more than happy to pitch in and help out.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Thank you, Chaz.
All right. You guys have an awesome night. Feel free to hit me up with any questions or anything you need.
Thank you.
Have a good night, everybody.
Peace out, crew.
Bye.